Morning, everyone. I want to respect everyone's time and get started. Now it is 6:02 p.m. It's Monday, June 9th, 2025, and we are hosting the third budget hearing of the evening. Of the month, of the cycle. It's been a long time. This evening we're joined in council chambers. I have Councilor Linda Bacon, Councilor Patty Devine, Councilor Sullivan, Councilor Graney, and Councilor Israel Rivera is here. And then online on Zoom, we've got Councilor Anderson Burgos, Councilor Givner, Councilor Jenny Rivera. So thank you all for being here. And we are joined by a myriad of department heads. So thank you all for taking the time to be here. We appreciate and value your time. This evening, thanks to the suggestion of Councilors Jordan and Councilor Bacon, we are giving the option for the public to attend this evening and participate in this public hearing if there are priorities or suggestions. And as a reminder for the public that is listening, the role of the council, we cannot add to the budget. We don't reallocate things, we just make cuts and review what the mayor has presented to us. So first, yes, Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that the idea of having the public be able to weigh in with comments or questions for us to consider was unanimously supported by my colleagues on the council.
Thank you, Councilor Bacon. So for now, I want to just give a moment to see if there's anyone either in council chambers this evening or attending remotely who is interested in participating. Oh, and Jeffrey, I do see a hand up.
Looks like we have Keith David.
Hi, Keith. If you could, please state your name and address for the record, and then feel free to provide any comment.
Keith Davis, 9 Pheasant Drive in Holyoke.
Thank you. The floor is yours, Keith.
Yeah, is there a way I can share a screen with you?
That is a great technical question that I don't quite have an answer to, but Jeffrey, is that a thing or?
Yeah, that's something
I just had a pie
I can make
chart throw up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just have to transition Keith to a panelist so that he has that ability.
Sure. Okay.
All right, Keith, you should be all set.
All right. If I have a I'm not sure how to start the screen share, but anyway, my comments today are that every time we deal with a budget, they seem to go in and look at different things on a lot of the small stuff in the budget, and they try to cut things and make decisions that would possibly help our taxpayers burden out a little bit. But I rarely hear anybody talking about the major parts of the budget, which if I could share this, I don't know if I can, but if you look at a pie chart of everything that the budget has, the biggest portion of it is police and then retirement, health insurance, fire department, and so on. Those are the big parts of the budget and then there's a whole bunch of tiny parts of the budget. And those things tend to get nickeled and dimed to death. And it has very little effect on the overall budget and very little effect on what the property taxpayer has to pay. I don't know if I could put this up there on the screen, but anyway, that was,
Yeah, Mr.
I think you
Davis?
should be able to. At the bottom of the screen, there's the share screen button. It's green,
now I see it, yeah.
Okay.
Let me-
but yes, you should have access to share. There you go.
Okay. This is, I don't know if that's clear or anything, but this is from a number of years ago when we used to do a forum on property tax abatement workshop that we did. And we would look at the budget, and we know that the mayor has to deal with this stuff, but the biggest pieces of the budget there are rarely dealt with. They're like third rail items. And I know the city council cannot set things, you can only cut what's on there, but it would be awfully nice if we had a mayor who could sit down with the police chiefs and the fire chiefs and people in charge of the finance, the comptrollers, and say, look, here's the budget, here's your piece of it, it's pretty big. What can you do to help us out? And then try to get those who are setting those budgets to respond back with something that they can do to bring those pieces of the pie chart down a little bit. So let me get out of my screen here. I'm not sure how I get out of this.
There should be a stop sharing somewhere at the top of your screen.
Oh,
Yeah, if you hover over at the top.
I see it. Yeah, okay. All right. So that's my only comment, and I would hope that the city council could have the mayor show that he's dealing with these large pieces of the budget, and he's talking to people and there are suggestions. And I realize the police budget is high, and of course, we've, in a recent study, has put Holyoke at, the highest crime rate in the state for violent crime and so on. And I know you have to solve that before you can reduce policing and everything. But we do have a high per capita of police budget and police crew and employees. So, but it would be great that if the city council asked the mayor to deal with these things and report back. So
Thank you
that's my
very much.
comment.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. And I see folks have their hands up, but I also really don't. I'm treating this as a regular public hearing where we don't usually have a dialogue with the public. And for the sake of time, we have a lot of department heads here. Excuse me. We have a lot of department heads here. And I, just for the sake of everything, we have 2 departments that could be pretty time consuming, which historically they have been. So I respect if there are counselors that have questions. I just want to kind of keep this as we usually handle public hearings. So with that, Counselor Givner, did you have a different question or?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Davis. I think that's a great comment and something to think about. I've never seen that, and I was just curious of what year that pie chart was from.
Okay, so that's
That-
fine. Go
That
ahead.
was over 10 years ago, so I don't have a recent one, but
All right,
probably pretty similar.
thank you.
Thanks. All right, thanks everyone. Is there anyone else from the public who's here this evening that would like to provide anything? Okay. I imagine that this is just the start of us doing this annually, because I think it's a great opportunity for the public to bring certain points to our attention, like this evening, so thank you. And of course, as always, everyone, if you're watching or tuning in, you can always reach out to us, counselors. Our contact information is on the website, so not just budget season, all year round, you can reach out to us. So yeah, I just want to thank those who did offer that, and then we will head into the budget discussions for this evening. So our first one on our agenda is the building department, and that is page, I just had it, 2425. And just a reminder, as always, if you are referring to a specific line item in the budget, this goes not just for of department heads, but counselors. If you have questions about a specific line item in the budget, please use the object code, or I will insert myself and mention that. And Jeffrey is sharing the screen. What a gem. So you can also follow along up on the screen. Thank you. And do we have anyone from the building department online, or? Oh, Leslie, there you
Leslie
are.
Ward.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. So what we've done at the last couple hearings is just feel free if there are any major differences or things that you want the council to be aware of. Please feel free to, go through those first, and then I'll just open it up for questions from counselors. Does that sound good?
Sure. So, I think the biggest difference that the mayor and I had was that he had taken my part-time clerk. I had put in for making that person a full-time clerk because it is a very busy department, and that position actually was eliminated completely. So I ended up with not only not getting my full-time clerk, but I lost the position completely. So I don't have a part-time clerk either. So that is one of the big differences. Another big difference, although on the other end of the spectrum, is that I do now have a full-time local inspector. That individual was hired and is currently working. He has been with us for 1 week now, so I do now have a local inspector to fill that long-standing deficit in my department. The other major addition to my budget was the addition of a property maintenance and demo supervisor position. And that is a position that did exist years ago, and we were unable to fill that. We have now been able to fund and now fill that position. So that individual is currently working as well. And we have a very large backlog of properties that need attention. So we are in the process of prioritizing that backlog and to make sure that we handle the most dangerous buildings first. And so that is where that stands. The other differences I would have to say is that my overtime budget now is now, the mayor has taken that, off of his side. I did suggest that we keep that, and the reason I suggested that we keep that, well, I just think that it's a good idea to have an overtime fund. Whether we use it or not, it's not good to not have that available. But now that we no longer have a part-time clerk and will not have a part-time clerk, I foresee that we are going to need that overtime money. However, I understand. On the expenses side, and we're looking at line item 53010, other contracted services. So we no longer need the contracted backup inspections that we were getting. We no longer need that service. So that was cut down to 2,500, which was supposed to be for my municipal hearings officer position, which is a stipend position, so that we can hear the ticket appeals when we find under the 304 program. It would be an in-house ticket appeal officer, but that has not been funded on the mayoral side. We also put in on the expenses a demolition budget. I suggested 100,000. I did not base that on anything anything that it was just a number I was throwing in there essentially. However, it is something that we do need. We need some supplies on the city side. The revolving fund is intended for private property only. And we don't have a fund except for this for city-owned properties that may have to be taken down. So the mayor has put in 20,000 for that, which I think is reasonable. Everything else is essentially the same on the budget. My recommendations were echoed for the rest of the budget by the mayor. So that is my piece of it.
Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate it. I have Councilor Bacon, and then Councilor Devine, and then Councilor Greenie, and then Councilor Rivera. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll ask this question of each department head. It's a general question, and I'm interested to know by what percentage your budget has increased this year compared to last year. If it's something that's not readily available or easily reported, you can send it to us in an email later.
I will opt to do that then. Thank you.
All right. Councilor Bacon, do you have other questions?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
That would be my question of the night.
Okay, sounds good. Councilor Devine and Councilor Givner, I do see your hand up, so Councilor Devine.
Thank you. I'm not sure, do they still have the floating clerk that they had a couple years ago? Is that still floating somewhere that they could probably use in the building department if that's still available?
I don't personally know. Leslie, is that?
I don't think Leslie would know, but maybe the mayor might know, or
I'm gonna
somebody.
let him eat for a second. Go ahead.
I actually do know.
Okay.
So the floating clerk was a position that was shared between the, primarily the Board of Health, had that employee. And every once in a while, that position, that person would fill in on an as-needed basis, from the Board of Health. However, there was a restructuring of the job description chart, or not job description, but the job grading chart. And the title was changed, however, the job descriptions were not changed, but people were kind of shuffled around. So it does still exist, however, there are some discussions going on right now between the Board of Health and my department and personnel and all of that as to how all of that is going to work. Right now, we have an intern who is wonderful, who is filling in for my part-time clerk who is not available. Unfortunately, she's likely not to return for personal reasons. And so therefore we have the gap that is being filled right now by an intern who is wonderful right now. We will lose that individual in August. So we are working on solutions for this situation right now.
Thank you.
That's it? Okay. Counselor Greenie?
Yes, quickly, Leslie, you probably addressed it already. 51201, the need for the property maintenance supervisor.
Yes, sir.
The personal budget increase is $100,000 to $150,000, which seems to be pretty substantial.
Specifically, are you looking at the total budget? Because his position was 64.5. So
Right.
are you looking at overall, all of the positions?
Well, that is a new position, it looks like here.
It is a new position, but it was it was a position. It's not a new position. It's just being funded. That position has existed in the past by an individual several years ago who he left the city and we were unable to fill that position. And so therefore, of course, the funding went away for that. But now we have found someone and the funding was approved. And we have filled that position. So that person is a very needed part of our demolition program for the city. We certainly can see the results of not having a lot of demolition activity done by the city. We have problem buildings such as 510 South Bridge and others around our vacant building stock and our deteriorating buildings certainly do need the attention of an individual who is supervises that and oversees what buildings need to be taken down. So that is the reason for bringing that position back.
Okay, well, that would make up half the increase in your personal services budget. There's another 50 grand out there. Because it looks like the personal services budget went from 567 to 667, 100 grand. So that's a substantial increase in personnel. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so the other part of that, the other piece of that, is that we had a part-time local inspector position that we were not able to fill for long periods of time. And now we have a full-time position. So that is what the other piece of that is coming from.
Okay.
We're able to fill the full-time local position.
You good, Counselor? Okay. Thank you. Counselor Isidro Rivera.
Thank you. I think for me the question was regarding the clerk that's no longer there. How do we expect to take up some of the responsibilities that the clerk was doing before? Like, how are we divvying up the workload? And then the other piece was, I remember, maybe not in last time. But before that, there was a sealer of weights and measures that we did have, and now I see that it's blanked out. So I'm concerned around the work that the sealer of weights and measures does, and will that be passed on to the plumbing and gas inspector? That's my questions, I guess, more or less.
So the sealer of weights and measures is now in his own department and his own line item. We do have a sealer. He's just no longer in my department.
And we'll be hearing from him next.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that.
As far as the clerk, the work duties from the administrative personnel that I've lost, so far we're filling in that workload with an intern who we will lose in August, and we are working on solutions to try and absorb the rest of the workload that clerk did. It may not be easy, but we are working toward finding a solution for that.
Thank you.
You good? Counselor Givner?
Thank you, Madam President. So my questions were about the weights and measures, but that's been cleared up. And regarding the percentage of change, I was looking at the personnel services has gone up 16.32%, and total department has gone up 17.15%. But I have to say that our building department has been doing a lot of work, and I have experienced it personally. I have to say that whatever they're doing, it's working. So I think the numbers are valid. There's a lot of things to deal with in the city to get us up to date with, dealing with problem properties, dealing with safety in buildings. So I commend Leslie Ward for getting on top of a lot of these things, but I just wanted to share those numbers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Oh, I also wanted to mention in council chambers, we were joined by Councilor Ocasio. Anyone else with questions for Leslie? All right. Thank you, Leslie. Okay. Up next, we have weights and measures. Would you like to come in? Or you can stand, whatever you prefer. But you're welcome to sit. So sealer of weights and measures is page 26. Thank you for being here. And just make sure that the green button is on. If the green button's on, your mic is on.
Test.
You're good.
Councilors, Mayor,
Thank you.
everyone in attendance, thanks for having me.
So yeah, feel free, and same as with Leslie, feel free to highlight anything for us that we should be aware of, and then we'll just open it up for questions.
Sure. So my department, Lynn Leslie just touched on it earlier. Previously, weights and measures fell under the building department. Now it's its own department. It's a department of one. It's me. So we're doing everything from gasoline, cannabis, pharmaceutical inspections of scales. We're doing grocery, everything in between. In terms of my budget, it's only grown, I want to say, less than 2% from last year. It's a small increase. Everything's virtually the same. I don't have any big ticket items or anything like that on my agenda. It's pretty straightforward. You can all see it in front of you there. The only thing that has increased was a very small increase to education and training and dues and subscriptions. And this is due to some of our organizations, like everything, just simply going up a little in cost. But everything else is, staying the same for this year. The program is going well. It has been rebuilt. It's completely functional and all-inclusive. And I'm going to put it out to anyone for questions, please.
Awesome, thank you. Councilor Rivera?
Just for a quick breakdown of, because you just mentioned cannabis and a lot of other things, for the people at home, what it is that you would be doing within cannabis and all the other stuff too. As well.
Certainly. So the sealer of weights and measures is involved in any type of weighing or measuring of any type of device throughout the city. So it could be scales in the case of the cannabis facilities and establishments, as well as grocery, as well as pharmacy. We're also involved in gasoline, truck scales, and things of that nature. Anything weighing or measuring falls under this jurisdiction.
Awesome. That sounds interesting.
It is.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Does anyone, oh, Yoni's hand is up. Yoni, is your hand up so that you can ask a question or so that you can be promoted to panelist?
I'll get him promoted.
Okay, cool. All right. Let me just make sure. I think that was the only reason why Yoni had his hand up, but all right, cool. Anyone else have any other questions? All right. Thank you for taking the time to be here tonight.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for all that you do. And have a good rest of your night. All right. Veteran Services. Laddie, come on. I'm really sorry that I didn't do War Memorial and Veteran Service on the same night. I'll do better. So, yep, this is page 44. Thanks for being here again.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I appreciate your time. So some of the changes that I just wanted to address, again, this is my first time being here present to speak on behalf of the Veteran Services Department. So thank you for giving me the floor. As many of you know, one of the bigger changes that we have is the announcement that was made to eliminate the investigator position. So that is one of the bigger changes that we do see within the budget, and that's line item 51103. We do believe that the workload can be distributed to myself and to the NSO, but I highly do want to make sure that, before we take that move, that we understand the importance of what it is to process these Chapter 115s and claims for our veterans, and ensure that we are able to, really provide the services that we need without putting too many pressures and not being able to meet the quotas that we're looking for the city. But that is one of the bigger changes that we have. Line item 53010 is a new line item. So the mayor, you graciously were able to give us $5,000 on that ticket item to help with the outreach. And we really do believe that once we're able to, again, show our veterans in our community here returning in the city of Holyoke that we are able to provide services, we do believe that there's going to be an increase in the population that we currently serve to provide these services that our veterans are looking for. Other than that, there aren't any other changes that I can specifically view. I do see that on line item 57700, there was a decrease of $10,000 provided for the Veterans Benefits Direct. I don't see a big change in that $10,000 as within last year's budget, fiscal year 2025. We hit the cap of 240 and we didn't go over it. So I do believe that the $250,000 is justified to be decreased by $10,000.
Thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
congratulations on your new role here.
Thank you.
I'm looking for any questions from counselors.
Answered all mine.
Oh, Counselor Gurney.
Thank you
Thank you.
for what you do for the vets.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
And I am not seeing anyone online. So I think we're good. I think you answered everyone's questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. And next year we'll do better. We'll consolidate. Thank you. All right. Up next, Retirement Board. Come on in. Come on down. Should get some background music. So the retirement page. Yeah, I was gonna say 55 in the budget packet, and then we also have Tony provided a worksheet for this one, right?
Yeah, there's about 108 cities and towns, or counties that are part of the retirement system. And it's actually 351 cities.
Oh, wait, can you make sure that your microphone's on?
Yeah.
The green light's on?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then,
Is it working? I just want to make sure.
oh, there it is.
Okay, all right, great.
So,
Sorry, if you
Like I
can
said-
repeat that, I'm sorry.
351 cities and towns, but for retirement systems in the state, there's only about 108. That form I handed out to you guys just shows that our percentage for 2024 was 11 point whatever, and that was currently 11th in the state among all retirement boards. So it was a good year. Last year, it wasn't as great, like 8.3. So you combine the years, and when you look out further, you'll see 5, 10-year, and then 40-year. Our expected rate of return has been 7.25 previous years, and we dropped it to 7% for the next 2 years through Siegel Actuarial. So anytime we're above that expected benchmark, we're doing good. So nothing to report. We probably have about $401 million in our fund right now. Payroll is 2.7 million a month for 1,000, last count was 1,003 retirees and surviving spouses and disability people. So, and then we control all the appropriations for individual workers. There's 1,200 that we cover. So it's a lot of work. It's hefty. Me and the mayor have got together, talked about a couple of things for the appropriations to maybe streamline them better for each department so that we're getting exact figures for salaries and number of employees throughout the city. So that'll really streamline the appropriations.
Okay. Anything else you want to add, or? All right, Councillor Givner.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm just a little confused by the spreadsheet here that shows 850 expended, but 13 million proposed. So I'd just like a little clarification on that.
Oh, the expended is probably what has already come through the city. And then 13 million combines all the appropriations for police, fire, admin, and schools also, which are part of us. No teachers, just paraprofessionals, custodians, and all the admins throughout the city for all the city offices.
Mayor, did you?
An important note, about $8 million of this is to maintain our aggressive schedule to be fully funded.
Right. Yeah.
The retirement account. You guys remember in previous conversations, previous communication, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts have mandated cities and towns to get on a schedule to be fully funded, but I think
2032
2040
for us, maybe 2033, depending on.
There's a target
Yeah.
year, but Hoyoke is on a path to be fully funded by 2032. So there's,
I
you know,
mean,
the
there's-
5 million plus an additional 8 million, that makes up the total $13.1 million being budgeted for. So there's no way around it. You know,
We've had the discussions and, you know, it was probably past, you know, I don't know what you call them, not really funding each year, and then the state made it mandatory that this has to be done. So it's good for all the workers in the city that work. It's part of like the benefits package between health and a retirement. I mean, cities, face it, they don't have the goods to really, really pay as private sectors would. So there are some incentives for working for cities and towns, and that goes through your benefits and your retirement benefits.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The gentleman that was speaking in the public hearing had referred to as, you know, the nickel and diamond versus these bigger things. And to put in perspective, it's about, for every 0.5% in our tax rates, roughly, and I got to get updated figures on this, but $600,000.
Yeah.
And so by 2032, the mayor and the council, whoever it is at that time, 6.5% for every 600,000, $8 million
Right.
back to taxpayers.
Right.
If you ask me, you want to know why, I really do think that this is the driver, rightfully so, that this is to right size the ship for, you know, the benefits that we have, everything that,
Yeah.
but also like $8 million is a huge hit in this budget
It'll be a great windfall when it
in
happens.
2032, yeah.
Looking to the future.
Right. And, you know, if you stay on schedule, if we stay above the 7%.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna be there.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, I mean, you guys are here
Oh, is your
to
mic
make
on?
decisions.
It
Yeah.
is, okay, all right. I just
You
wanna
guys
make
are
sure.
here to make decisions that are based on appropriations, and you say yes to the mayor's budget. His hands are tied on that one, so it's not anything that you can take away or whatever. He's just gotta work around that, and future mayors and council will have to work around it.
I have Counselor Israel Rivera and then Counselor Greeny.
So, yes, thank you. When we say the hands are tied, so that means that if we were to cut it even a little bit on the council level, that the state would come back and force us to refund it regardless, right?
Yeah, it would go on, it has happened before when we had issues with the
Are
geriatric.
all the communities in the state like that?
Yes, they're all like.
And they're all on the same
They're all
pace that
at-
we're on?
Well, some of them are on different schedules because they maybe not have done that well investment-wise. So it depends on your investments
Yeah.
and how good they're doing. I mean, we've been on track and we've been probably, you know, you look at the 10-year return, we've been up,
Right.
40-year returns up, so.
So if we go back to the pie chart that the guy showed, when they show police and fire, it's actually bigger than what it actually
Oh, yeah.
is.
It's police.
That he showed on the
fire,
pie chart.
DPW, Parks and Rec, admin. I mean, gas and electric, housing, waterworks pay their own. They're in our retirement system, but they pay their own appropriations.
That's interesting.
Sure.
That is interesting to find out.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And, you know, feel free, any counselor that wants to stop by and come to the office and you can sit down with us and, you know, just to make sure you feel good about what we're doing over there.
No, I trust in you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I have Counselor Greeny and then Counselor Gibner.
Just, Mr. Duluth, thank you very much. Comparatively speaking, these are real good numbers. Thank you for your good work.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Counselor Gibner.
Thank you,
Oh, there
Madam
you go.
President. So that just created more questions because I'm just, we said we've been on track, but the proposal this year is up by 176%. So I'm just wondering why it was so low, why we have expended so little last year and why the proposal is so high. I understand we're trying to get on track for 2032. But it seems like we have to chip in a lot right now to catch up. Is that gonna be an annual increase of 176%?
I don't think it's 176%.
The increase, Counselor, is 4.6% to that retirement line from
Yeah.
this current fiscal year that we're in.
So what's the total transfer to other funds line mean?
It's 13, well, the total appropriation is 13 million. That's up probably 4% from the previous year. And, you know, that takes into account salaries increases.
That's right.
For every worker that is covered under our umbrella. And
Where's that
also-
line item? Sorry.
Line item.
Oh, it's in the back of the book.
It's,
What's the page number?
that page number would be,
It's gotta be part of,
I
like,
had the table of charts somewhere. Oh, here.
What page number? It's insurances, claims, benefits, travel, transfers, and other.
There's like,
So it's just not reflected on the. Yeah, I'm looking, so I'm on 55 and 56, is that correct?
yeah, that, I mean, that's 55 and 56. That's what we're looking at. Was there somewhere else?
So the very first line where it says retirement contribution.
51999.
Gotcha. Thank you.
What? No, I was just confirming what the object code was.
yeah.
I think I was looking at the wrong line. I was looking at
Gotcha.
the total transfer to other funds.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you want to come to the office any day, we're there, and I can talk with you, Counselor
Thank you.
Givner. Yeah,
All right.
I mean, like I said before, we had one time where the geriatric wasn't paying. I mean, we had to raise and appropriate on page 2. It was almost like a bill. And, you know, the city had to actually bail out the geriatric authority. So that was a little while ago. I know Linda was here.
I was a young buck.
Bowie was here. Patty was here.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was a messy situation. It's, you know, but the city bailed actually the workers out for the geriatric. So,
I'm sorry, were you gonna, Counselor Bacon?
I'll just say, we're doing better now.
yeah, we are.
Thank you.
No, I mean, you know, you guys come here all the time, and whoever's on Zoom also, it shows your commitment to the budget in the city, so.
Madam President, just
Yeah,
one more
Counselor
question.
Rivera.
Just to see the difference as to why water and sewer and electric pay their own and
They're
police
on,
and fire don't and
There
teachers
are
don't.
separate entities. So police and fire are under the city's umbrella. Gas and electric, water, and housing are separate entities.
And teachers?
Teachers they're separate. We don't cover teachers.
Okay.
If you're a licensed teacher, you go through the Mass Teachers Association.
Okay.
Any paras and custodians, and we used to have the kitchen, but the kitchen privatized to Sodexo now.
Okay.
So they still have some funds with us if they want to retire, or they can take their funds out.
Okay. Thank you.
Those organizations have alternative revenue sources outside of our normal
Right.
appropriation.
Right.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Tony, for being
Thank you.
here.
Thanks, Tony.
Congratulations on your wedding.
Oh,
3 months.
nice. Okay. All right. Parks. Come on down. That's page 48 and 49.
So,
Welcome.
John Moquin is our interim Parks and Recreation Director, and he's inherited the budget that's in front of him.
Right.
But I think he did his homework, and he's going to do his best. Or let me know if you need some help.
I mean, since I've started, it's only been since Monday, right? So
Like
I
quite
scanned
literally,
it, and I'm
happy 1 week.
Appreciate it.
You're still here, so that's a good
Yeah.
sign.
I've been dabbling still in like my other work coming from the DPW, so there's some permits. I did scan this, and then like Friday, I was told I might have to come in front of everybody, so I was like, oh, I haven't really looked at the budget. But quickly, just from scanning it, I saw an increase for the director for like $5,435. I see the assistant directors up $4,166. The admin assistant, who we don't have but we're starting the interviewing process for, is up $926. An increase in repair and maintenance for $1,000. Increase for the senior fest for $1,000. In-state travels up $250. And I believe there's $4 somewhere in there too. $1 for like 4 different line items that I caught, like vacation buyback or something like that.
Real quick, President,
Yes.
is that the right page? Is it
I
not
can't-
recreation?
hold on.
Because that's
It's-
parks.
It's recreation.
It should be recreation, correct, right?
Yep.
Oh, then did I give?
Yeah, because I'm following along with Moquin.
Am I on the wrong page?
Everybody's
then?
lost.
Yeah, recreation. That one's.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
So
My bad.
Technically, it's parks and recreation, but recreation doesn't technically manage parks.
No, I know. I know.
I only know that from my commission days.
Well,
Just blazing them.
I just looked at the wrong.
when I
So
looked
what
at the
page is it
agenda-
then?
but when I looked at the agenda, it said park, so I didn't know if that was me or.
Yeah.
Rec.
No, but I'm
46.
46. I was off. Thanks, Coco. My apologies. 46. Page 46.
You want me to say them all over again?
No, no, no. You're good. All right. Anything else you wanted to add? We kind of cut you off there. Sorry.
You're good.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Counselor Rivera?
Normally, I would say yes, but I'm going to allow because he's only been on the job since Monday. We'll wait for next year if I'm still here.
God willing, huh, guys? Yeah.
I'll email you the answer to the percentage increase, but I don't.
Yeah. No, so I guess my normal question would be around seasonal, right? And what the expectations on cost would be for seasonal, and if there's any cost that would be needed to continue to do more work around the seasonal piece, feel free to reach out to the mayor, and hopefully I would be totally in favor of that. But aside from that, again, like I said, I don't want to, since Monday, I don't want to go ahead and add on any extra headaches that may.
Yeah, no, I
Come on.
appreciate that, but the seasonal line, like that work line, is something that I was looking at, and like is important to me because of maybe even shifting how we're using the money more, less time in the parks with crayons and more time maybe structured events in the parks and stuff like that, but all planned stuff. That's my favorite line item, I think. But
Thank you.
besides my salary, but, yeah.
I respect
I don't
that.
disagree on that one.
Yeah. Perfect. Counselor Graney.
Yeah, to piggyback on what Councilor Rivera said, we'll get you next year.
Sounds good.
Okay. Do you want? Okay. Anyone else? All right.
Change.
Small change, so that's good. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And congratulations as well on your new position and getting that first weekend.
Right.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All righty. Conservation. Yoni. Hi. Conservation is page 16. Don't worry, I got you, Counselor Graney.
Okay.
And I don't think I messed that up, right? I don't know, it's Monday.
Try 60.
16, right? Good, okay. All right, so Yoni, as we have just been doing this evening, feel free if there's anything you want to draw any attention to that we should be aware of, let us know, and I'll just see if anyone has any questions.
Great, thank you. I'm Yoni Golgauer, Director of Conservation and Sustainability. The notable change, the increase in the budget, is in the Conservation Planner position, 51102. This has come after years of discussions with the Mayor and Conservation Commission about getting some support for my office, which has historically been a one-person show. I manage our Conservation Commission. We have meetings every second and fourth Thursday, administering the Wetlands Protection Act for wetland permitting and enforcement, and also our local Holyoke Wetlands Protection Ordinance. But the position's grown somewhat. I write a lot of grants for urban forestry, green infrastructure, climate resiliency, energy transition. Last year, the mayor at least granted a half-time position, an administrative assistant, That was a great help, but we had always envisioned that the position would be someone who could do planning work more akin to the Planner 2 positions in the Office of Planning and Economic Development, and can take on the broader roles in addition to the clerical duties. So the mayor was very generous in putting that in his proposed budget. The person we hired for the half-time administrative assistant position, I was hoping just to get at least some clerical help, managing purchase orders, payments, typing minutes, posting agendas. We were very fortunate to hire someone, a recent graduate from the master's program at Clark University. She comes with a lot of training and experience and is a quick learner. And she's been helping me with all of the different projects that I manage and the grants that I write for the city. So I would have requested this anyway, but we're really hoping she can move into this role and that my department will be even more effective than it's been in the past and just be stable moving forward. Sometimes we get a lot of permits at the same time or enforcement actions that need to be taken, and that has to be balanced with the project management and the more aspirational parts of my department. So that's the purpose of the conservation planner line item, which will replace the administrative assistant. The other small change is the elimination of the CT River Channel Marker Program line item. This has been part of this department's budget for decades. It was used to support for community program to place and maintain channel markers in the Connecticut River, some of which are in Holyoke, north of the dam, and others are in the Oxbow and near South Hadley. So this program is in a period of change. Rep. Sabadosa is trying to push for inclusion of permanently funding this by the state in the upcoming environmental bond bill. And in any case, the rising cost of managing the markers is too much for our 4 communities to manage now anyways. So we don't even have a contract in place. And in fact, the $3,500 that was budgeted for this year's portion of Holyoke's share, we're gonna return it to the general fund and haven't included it in next year fiscal year's budget. And everything else is pretty much the same. Not much else to it.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Councilor Greeny?
Just quickly, Yoni, is there any update on that tree grant that we're going to be missing?
No, unfortunately, there was a judge in Rhode Island that issued a decree that all of the IRA, Inflation Reduction Act funding that was granted under the USDA and EPA be restored. But I've not received any update that any enforcement or further steps have been taken. So I'd like to hope that someday it does return and we can use that funding, but I can't speak to when that might happen. It's very unfortunate.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have Councilor Rivera, then Bacon, and Councilor Givner.
Thank you. I'd just like to show my appreciation for returning some of the funds to the general fund. Unlike other departments, they get transferred, and it's a really good thing to be able to see at the end of the fiscal year, some of it coming back to the general fund to make sure that we can allocate them again in a purposeful way for the next fiscal year. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Councilor Bacon?
Thank you. I too appreciate the return of the funds for the marker program. My question is around planning, and I hear what you're saying about wanting to build in more depth in your department, but we have a pretty big planning department here in the city, and in some departments we're talking about consolidating. This looks like we're decentralizing. So I'm just wondering why maybe somebody in our planning department couldn't be working with conservation around some of these initiatives and actions, I guess, or duties, if you will. So I'm not sure if that's a question for Yoni or the mayor, but I'm just wondering.
Sure. Yoni, you want to?
Yeah, I'll give it a try. It's a very good question. And it's actually interesting. In many communities, conservation is part of planning. It's one department. But in our case, my department, types of projects that are traditionally housed under planning through their conservation or sustainability planners, which are often two separate positions, I manage for the city. So a lot of these, like our green infrastructure projects, which we do collaborate on with DPW, the expertise is really with someone from an environmental planning background. We do collaborate closely with the Office of Planning and Economic Development. And in some ways, I think of us as like an extended family. But there's enough projects through the MVP grant program, Green Communities Fund grant program, all of the planning processes that my office is responsible for, the MVP Climate Resiliency 2.0 program that we have to do in order to be eligible for future funds. Yeah, these can be rightfully thought of as planning projects, but it's also our wheelhouse more so than no offense to any of the staff in Office of Plain Economic Development, but that's where we've kind of centered our expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you. You good? All set?
Yes, thank you.
I have Councilor Givner next, and then Councilor Sullivan.
Thank you. I'm all set.
All right, Councilor Sullivan.
Yeah, would just like to remind my fellow council members that as far as the Connecticut River Channel Marker Program, that's one of the budget cuts I proposed last year, so it's nice it's coming back to the fund. It should have never been out in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, thank you, Yoni. You're free to go. Appreciate your time and all that you do. All right, we have the library is up next. Hi, Maria. Thank you for waiting. You can come on in, have a seat. Unless you want to stand, totally up to you. The library is on page 45. Okay, and once again, this isn't your first rodeo. Feel free to walk us through anything that you think we should know about, and then I'll open it up for questions.
Our budget is straightforward. I want to say thank you for the budget, and I'm here to answer questions.
Okay.
Much.
Sure.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I try to stay within what I was told to stay within. And
Sounds good. Councilors, do you have Councilor Bacon?
Yes. So which percentage were you aiming to stay within for your budget?
I was told 2%.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Maria? Okay. I'm not seeing any.
As
So
usual.
that's good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Our next is the Office of Planning and Economic Development. And that is pages 17 and 18. And do we have anyone from planning or economic development here this evening?
Aaron is on his way.
Okay.
He's going to be joining on Zoom.
Oh, okay. Well, we can just can I keep going? Let's see. We have up next on the list is Public Works. I see we're joined by Mary.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
And Mark.
Hey, Mary.
Mark Lubold. Mary Monahan, come on down.
Okay, Pajinas.
So we've got a few pictures. I mean,
pictures.
Madam
Pages.
President, if I may ask, just the page number.
yeah, so that's what I was just gonna,
All right,
there's
I got you.
several. So, I got page 28, which is the Forestry Division. 31 to 38 is Engineer and Divisions. 48 and 49 is Parks Division. I think that's it, right? Yeah. Yeah. So we can start at, what?
There's more.
There's more, aren't there?
There's lots more.
There's so many more. I knew there was more. All right, well, why don't we just start with the first one is 28. So, welcome.
Hello.
And I'll let you guys share any information that you want to highlight, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, just real quick, thanks for having us in. I've only ever seen this process from that side.
I was going to say, do you want your own?
And I always thought it would be nice for board members to come in as well during this process, and not only to answer questions, but also support, the department head, because I think it's very important. I think Mary maybe started a week before I did, so I'm maybe 6 weeks on the board, and she's interim in about 7 weeks. So we'll do our best to walk you through this and answer any questions that you have.
Great.
So, thanks. And it's great to have a chair that is a good chair. Having been the chair for 3 years and now the interim director, so I do come in with some knowledge of Holyoke's budget and plus that 20-plus year career in public works overall. So I just want to start by saying that, this budget is something that we more or less inherited. So what I'm hoping that future opportunities to either have the city increase revenue, find additional funding source, will bring DPW up to a level of funding where we can actually meet expectations. And, tonight's discussion about the budget should revolve around limiting those expectations. Because without funding, without staffing, without the proper equipment, a lot of the things that the city needs to do can't all be done. So there needs to be priorities established. And, as we get to some of these line items, we can talk if there's any questions about what those priorities might be. But some of it is still a plan in process. I know that the mayor has a desire to do an overall review of DPW operations to put in the right organizational structure. Right now, there's just a DPW director, and then there's everybody else. There's no deputy director that actually has day-to-day insight as to what's happening. There's no senior staffing people that you can directly go to. That being said, everybody that works at DPW is doing a fantastic job. I've always note that, they do the most with the least. And as counselors, you're all invited down there to take a look at the operations. The most amazing one is if you go into the vehicle maintenance side of things. We have a scientist there, for lack of a better term, who knows how to take parts from one thing and put them on another so that we can literally create new vehicles in order to keep the snows plowed off the streets, in order to keep other equipment functioning well beyond their expected life. So that's an opening introduction to the rest of the discussion. So item number 1 is Department of Forestry, and you'll note that the 2 tree climbing positions have been eliminated, so there's really only 1 position there. That's personal services, and that's the forester. And we're supplementing the forestry maintenance work with contracted services. There's $150,000 there. And I know from previous discussions with this board and the mayor's office, there's additional funding coming for tree maintenance from the ARPA funds. So we recognize that it's a combination of both maintaining what we have when it comes to even the simple pruning of things, right on up to removal of trees that are problematic and potentially dangerous.
Yes, Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. So we've been talking for a long time about the city forester, and we've been talking for a long time about trucks and equipment in DPW. And about 4 or 5 years ago, we bought a $250,000 truck for the forestry department.
Correct.
Because they said it was imperative that they had it. Since then, we've essentially heard it's never been used because it's never been staffed. So my question is, because the other thing that we've heard is that our city forester is the city forester, but he's also doing other things in a different
parks
section of the department. So, and I'm not trying to pick on him personally, but it seems like if he's doing all those other things, then he really can't be a city forester. Because, I mean, you can't really do two things at the same time, right? So
He actually does. So I will say that he manages, you know, whether there's agreement in the balance with respect to how the public sees it, but he is managing, and back to how I opened, this is one of those valid reasons for looking at the organizational structure.
Right, but is all his pay in this line?
I don't believe so. There's other pay that I think comes out of parks.
Okay. So what is he able to do under the forestry line?
Under the forestry line,
He's just one guy.
At this point in time, depending on the type of emergency response, he can go with parks crews to do some cleanup. But what he doesn't have are tree climbers, which are a distinct group of employee. He can, at that point in time, use the truck. And I do share your concern that the truck isn't used as it was intended well before we got here. But again, within the limits of staffing and the pool of staffers he has dwindles, even though they're not even in the tree budget. So
Well, right, and I know relating to other parts of the budget, we've seen huge transfers out of heavy equipment operator.
right, and that's another issue we'll talk
Right.
about. Yes.
So, okay, well, thank you for refreshing us on the breakout of the jobs.
Okay. Councilor Rivera?
Yeah, I think for me, Councilor Bacon just kind of asked a lot of the questions I was going to ask around the city forestry position in general. But do we have like just a brief summarization of what like the position entitles as a city forester, just in case?
Do we have a position
Like just like
description?
Yeah,
Yeah, we do. And that's actually sitting at the city solicitor's office right now, because there is a conflict between the city forester's position, which is created specifically by ordinance, and that's the only position other than the DPW director that is accountable to the Board of Public Works. And then the other position that this individual holds in parks is a conventional employee relationship. And so there's a conflict even with management there, but that was brought to the city solicitor's office, their attention a couple of months ago.
And my question only comes up from just like one of the last meetings where just particularly questions were asked around like just what are certain trees in certain areas, and off the top it was just like a difficult situation just to get specific answers as to what they were or what identified dangerous trees or whatnot. And for me it's like, what would be the difference between contracting an arborist, right? Someone that would go in and be able to prune and know how to do this on a regular basis, and having a forester. So that way, and again, no fault to the person that's in the position, right? It's due to lack of capacity and not having the staff needed to do the work. But if we're working with an arborist in general, for them, this is something they do on a regular basis, right? So I'm just trying to have a better understanding of how best to spend and allocate the funding in a way where it's beneficial to the taxpayers and beneficial to the city in the long term. But yeah, that was just my question more.
No, and that's a good question back to and I think because of the challenge now with the forester being created by ordinance, and then another position that's an employment status strictly under the DPW. Those are all the results of individual decisions being made that weren't part of a plan or organizational structure. So again, moving forward, all of these questions ideally will be part of what looks best for operating DPW.
And again, because you're inheriting it, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, I apologize. I'm not trying to put no pressure.
I know
on you.
that.
Same thing I would from Oakwood. Like,
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for page 28?
One thing just to keep in mind too, she's an interim director. So, you know, we need to have somebody who's hired that's capable and competent. And,
like me.
yeah, absolutely. That knowledgeable on various facets. So
we
clock is
want the new
ticking.
person coming in into a good place with an organization already there.
For sure. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna move to, I have my, here it is. The next one would be 31 through 38.
So the sheets I have in front of us are going by the department code number. So
Okay.
department number 410.
Yes, that's
okay.
correct, engineer.
And our city engineer Matt Sokop he was going to be zooming
I think
in.
he's, yep.
Okay.
There's Matt. Hi, Matt. Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.
If there's anything you want to draw to our attention or add about your, just any information about your budget, let us know.
So the main increase is under professional engineering services.
And that is 53010.
Yes. And so I propose that increase of 50,000 to just cover the additional engineering services that come up from time to time, which could include traffic studies, traffic calming, evaluations, mostly to address orders that come in from city council. So I put that on the table as for your consideration and a way to, address this backlog of orders that have come through.
Okay.
Other than that, everything's pretty much the same. I think I did increase education and training just to be able to add some more training to the position. And that's about it.
All right. I'll pause there and see if folks have questions. Councilor Rivera?
So the item 53010, that's more or less contracted services is what you're referring to, am I correct?
Correct.
So is it because we have a vacancy in another engineering position?
We still do not have a senior civil engineer, but these studies sort of are more involved. Time to time, we need traffic counts and detailed assessments. So this is more focused work, more time-consuming work that's, I think, better spent with.
I asked because on ordinance, when I get, I don't know how best to say this, when I get responses, I get responses as to the council should be finding funding for certain things, right? And technically, that's not our role in a sense. So for me, it's just trying to figure out. If we had someone that's here on a day-to-day, they'd have a better understanding of what our role really is when it comes to as a council, and what we can do and what we can't do with regards to capacity. So, and one more question: what is the actual pay rate for that position?
Senior civil engineer is listed on the top.
It's on the top.
Senior civil engineer is 51105.
So we're saying 90,000 is proposed for the next fiscal year,
Correct.
and we're doing 100,000, which is more. So, all right, by ordinance, is it 90,000 by ordinance? That's why it's not 100,000. I guess I'm asking this question to the mayor.
There should be a range.
I don't have it in front of me, but that should be the mid. Am I wrong? you know what it is?
Yeah, it's per contract.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah,
PSA contract.
PSA contract, yeah.
It falls within the range.
Because we're paying more in contract, I mean, in the contract service than we would actual the position.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's the thing with this current situation. You have one city engineer and a vacant senior civil engineer, and we have a lot of projects. So what Matt does is he farms out things that are very involved and and I don't want to use the word time consuming, but when he's got enough on his plate with other things, so he's trying to balance. We hope to land a civil engineer, that's right. That'd be great to have a member on our team that can help manage most of these, and then we should be able to see the contract line drop. But again, it's all depends on how much we put on the engineers and how much work, you know what I mean? So you have not just Victoria, but sometimes Ty and Bond gets consulted or contracted with out of there, and other engineering companies, depending on the specialized need of the service of the engineer that we, you know what I mean? Like for example, the Center City Connector Project, which is the Race Cabot, Willimantic, the High and Maple Project, the Rotary Project up on Beach and Resnick. Those are MassDOT tip projects, and right now Victoria's charging on those, is taking the lead on those, and that opens up time for Matt to do everything else. And if he can farm out other things, we have the garages, we have the parking deck, among other things. And so Matt does his best to try to, with what he has, deploy the resources accordingly so we can keep up with the need.
Thank you.
I have Counselor Devine.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Welcome back, Matt.
Thanks.
You're welcome. The question I did have was the professional engineering services, but the mayor answered that question. So, and welcome to Mark as well, and Mary always. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Counselor Givner.
Thank you, Madam President. So I'm just curious because I also get the same feedback when I ask about things that have been requested by constituents. Just to be clear, the items requested from council are in professional engineering services. I guess my question is that the budget line item that things we ask for constituents comes out of?
That's part of the reason for the increase.
Okay, and then I was also curious about a more holistic approach to the city. Because I have always thought it seems a little ridiculous that the council puts in orders to request specific repairs, and I'm wondering if there's a more holistic approach in the works to dealing with, things that are happening full time. There's always a sidewalk to repair. There's always a pothole somewhere. So are there any plans in the works that would address this without it being so itemized?
Mary, do you want to?
Yeah, so I think council was just shared the paving plan that was developed by Victoria Houle with Matt, and it included, I thought it was rather interesting read. It included a lot of data that was developed by our previous contract with the Beta Group that did a pavement assessment throughout the city. So using data that's associated with the actual road condition, then taking in other things like the amount of traffic on that roadway, other things she brought into it was where are we getting the most complaints about potholes, thus having to pay out claims on that. So with that, it prioritized the roads that need to be done, and it looked at $1 million roughly we get annually for Chapter 90 money to do the roads. So that's all we have for doing roads and sidewalks. So there's also a sidewalk plan that ends up being funded through CDBG, but that only funds sidewalk improvements in certain neighborhoods. So I know that Victoria with Matt is also working right now on some sidewalk prioritizations that can also be used from the Chapter 90. So yes, we do work a plan, and I think I've mentioned to a couple of counselors, and we can repeat it later, when we make that plan, for example, with the road paving, there's a commitment to, we went out to bid, I believe today it actually hit the streets for a paving contractor for the next 3 years. So when council wants to, let's say, add a new road to the list, there needs to be either a road taken off or, a funding opportunity identified. So it's a bit of art and a bit of science in coming up with how you prioritize, those roads to be done.
Thank you for that, Mary. I guess I was, and thanks for mentioning sidewalks, because I did see the pavement management plan, and it seemed like it focused mostly on, roadways. So I was really curious about the sidewalks for people are constantly complaining about everything. So it's not like, sorry, it's not like there's more roadways or sidewalks that need to be dealt with. So I was just, I'm happy to hear that there's something that will be available to address sidewalks throughout the city too. Thank you.
Madam President.
Yep, I have Councilor Bacon and then Councilor Greeny.
Thank you. So I just wanted to remind all of us that we started with the contract engineer when we didn't have any engineer, other than Carl at the time. And so that has been filling a big gap that we had in the city until Matt just recently came back. So, and in the past, you can see that we had expended very little money out of that engineer. But I do note that Matt's position is considered the assistant DPW director as well as the engineer for the city.
If I could answer that as to what I think it's in case the DPW director is gone for a period of time and someone needs to sign things. But the reality is the city engineer is working in a different building. The city engineer isn't familiar with the day-to-day operations of DPW. So to actually step in to function as an immediate replacement and support DPW, that doesn't exist.
But it could.
If you wanted to put more work on the assistant city, but
well, we're just speaking organization.
Yeah, right.
But I'm
that
just
new
saying
organization,
how it's described.
Right, and my understanding was that that's how it came about. There needed to be someone to be able to sign on behalf of the DPW director when they didn't show up.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's it for now. Thanks.
Councilor Greeny?
Yeah, just quickly, I want to thank you guys for promptly taking care of that patch of road right there in front of the Citizens Bank. That was a nightmare coming into the city. But there's nice paving all done right now. It's really nice and smooth. And whoever's responsible, thank you very much for that.
So I'll give kudos right now to Mike Gallagher. When he sees a roadway improvement, he's right on top of it. He'll talk to me about it, and if there's an opportunity, and like right now there's no funding left to make things happen, but if there's an opportunity to make that happen within the available budget, he's right out there with the crew making sure that that's a priority.
Thanks. When I see Mike, I'll thank him personally. Thank you.
Yeah, he's been very responsive.
Anyone else for the engineer department, office of the engineer? All right, then we'll go to page 32, which is DPW administration. That's Department 421.
Correct.
Okay.
So I think the biggest change in that is we're asking for an additional clerk in the office. So as we go through all of these divisions, their support services funnel through the clerical staff that's in the office on Canal Street. And they're really in a crunch right now. They've been in a crunch for a number of years. And just to give you an idea of everything that staff does, and we're talking there's 3 in the front office, and then there's an office manager who, by virtue of the workload on the staff, has not been able to do what was intended with an office manager, which was additional work to support the overall DPW operations. So all permits that come through DPW, stormwater, road openings, sidewalk closures, that original application comes through that office, and the payments come through there. Sewer abatements come through that office. payments for sewer bills, payments for septic hauling, payments for the permits, payments for dump fees, parking, property transfer payoffs, all that comes through that front office. All the accounts payable for all these divisions we're talking about. So the invoicing that comes in, the purchasing that comes in for forestry, engineering, administration, the city properties, the buildings that DPW manages, highways, bridges, auto and equipment, trash and recycling, parking facilities. All of that purchasing is coordinated through that DPW office. All of the invoicing is paid, and invoicing isn't paid until the clerical staff confirm with that division superintendent that either the service or the product ordered was received. And then, of course, with that number of invoicing coming through, there's always questions from vendors and outreach to vendors, and that clerical front office does that. We also do payroll for all of those divisions. In each of those divisions, the payroll is a little bit different. With the overtime and the type of work that you're doing has different codes, and in some cases, it's still manual paperwork on some of the employees. The Board of Public Works support, developing agendas, developing the minutes, making the communications to the Board of Public Works, who meets the first and the third Monday of the month. And then there's the financial reporting. We struggle with that right now because the day-to-day operations and dealing with customers and other immediate issues, but turnovers need to be reported to the treasurer's office. The billings for the fuel depot, the turnovers for that, the turnovers that come in when we've got these large containers of quarters from the parking meters. So all of that, and we're struggling, and that struggle isn't associated with folks not knowing how to do their job. It's not having the time to do all of this work. So putting another staff person there would actually, ensure that the revenues that are owed to the city are actually collected, aggressively collected. We do the shutoffs too. So that's really the only big change in the administration, and that one staff person.
Thank you. Mayor, did you want to add?
Did that extra budget sheet get to you guys? You have that?
It was
That reflects that one.
filed as a communication at the last meeting as a late file. Yes, from you.
Okay.
And
That's the one position she was talking about. I know we did talk about it, and I didn't include that. And so
It was
she-
a late file, though. I did see it go
Yeah,
through,
okay.
and I think
Yeah.
it's on my sheet, I think.
Jeffrey, I don't know if that's something you have easy access to.
Yeah, I think I can pull it up.
Okay.
Yeah, and the difference, the request for that is 56,136.
What line is that?
It would go under 51104. It would increase that from 2 to 3.
So I only have one. You said
Okay.
51104?
Right, so you have the older budget. That should, so on mine, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the one that's already been increased. So it
Oh,
would go
right.
1 to
It
2.
would go to 2, right?
Correct, yes.
And it's a plus the same, 56, you said?
56,136.
I know I have the paper out.
Yeah, he just pulled it up on the
Yeah.
screen too. Thank you for that, guys. Councilor Bacon.
Thanks. So I'm just looking at this and I'm seeing that we have a director of public works in for a salary that, if I'm remembering right, anyway, in comparison to our engineer, assistant DPW director is less. And I remember when we hired our last director, we made a special amendment to increase that salary, because he was paid more than what's in the budget right now.
Carl was at 118.
Oh, you.
Carl,
Excuse me, for me?
Yeah.
103.
Yeah,
so Carl was at 135 or something.
No,
118.
118.
Right?
118, it was max.
118.
Yeah.
No, good catch.
So 135 or 138, it's a small
What is it?
numbers,
10-
was the
103?
budget.
103
request.
for me.
So,
Just to clarify, it's grade 14, the max is 118,862. The vote that the council took that Councilor Vacan's referencing allowed for the director, specifically the director to be hired above the mid-range.
Correct.
So it's budgeted at the max, which currently is 118,62.
Okay.
So that's where some of the confusion may lie.
All right, and I know it's two different salary scales because the engineer
Is PSA.
is a PSA and a grade 13, so it's a different rating.
Yeah, I think we're
Okay.
good. So, yeah.
Is that, are you good?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Counselor Sullivan?
Yeah, thank you. So this question would be for the mayor is, I know we can't add to the budget, but what was requested was 138. We are having trouble recruiting somebody. Why only the 118, knowing full well, I think that we're not going to get somebody at that price?
Yeah, no. So the 118 is the max on the range. But if 118 is the max on the range unless we scale the range up. But right now in the ordinance, it's I can't go above 118.
Well, we already went above it.
No. So the ordinance, you can't go above the mid range, right? But this council had supported, I don't know, for the lack of a better term, exceeding the mid range. So we went with the max. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know if it's an ordinance change or the council, you come back to this body and say, yes, higher above the 118. That's great. Either way, we can revisit that at the time. We don't have anyone chomping at the bit at the moment. There's some systems changes we want to work on internally, hopefully in a short period, in the hopes that, we can potentially attract folks to want to come to the city, but also there's room for conversation about what we want to do with the salary. Do we want to keep it at the 118 or should we scale the range up a little higher in a much more palatable salary for whoever the next person's going to be?
Yeah, it just seems to me we still could have budgeted higher. At that point, then it would only need council approval to do it, right?
It's similar goal, different paths. I think we're on the same page as far as what we want to do. It's just a matter of how you want to get there. Could I have budgeted more? Sure, I was trying to balance a budget. Is there opportunity to move things around? Yeah, and it all is contingent upon the appetite of the council.
Rory, did you want to add something?
Just to clarify, so the mid-range is actually 102,391. That's the current mid-range for grade 14. So the ordinance change that the council adopted allowed for the mayor to budget at the 118. Separate from that, I do believe an order was filed relative to this position to adjust the range, to have a higher salary, and I believe that is in front of ordinance now and maybe taken up at a meeting pretty soon. I don't know, maybe as part of a Schedule A refresh that's coming up soon.
Did you have something?
I just have one more question as to what the range is for the engineer/assistant DPW director that's in the PSA grade 13. I'm just curious, because...
Give me a minute and I can get that for you. One second.
You have the contract?
1 second. Yeah, I do. I can get it for you.
Oh, okay, thanks.
My question is similar, is what
Sure,
is
go
the
ahead.
what is the top range for the DPW director?
So
The
right now, the
118.
top range for the DPW director is $118,862.
I thought that was mid-range.
No, the mid-range is 102,391.
So remember,
It's grade 14, which goes from $85,921 to $118,862. Again, there's an order to adjust that, but until that's acted upon, the mayor can only budget accordingly. But I will get that PSA number for you guys.
Counselor, hold on 1 second. I saw Counselor Givner's hand, but now I don't. Are you good?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay. Counselor Rivera?
Yes, so the 118, and is the requirement for the director to still be a city engineer, or no? We removed that, didn't we?
Right, yeah.
So, okay, just for I just wanted that for clarification. Thank you.
Any other questions for this department of the department? Okay. Thank you. I'm like word salad today. All right. Then we are going to move on to municipal parking facilities? Is that DPW?
I've got 422 is next. That's the,
City property?
yeah, city property.
Okay, hold on. Thank you. Okay. Oh, I got it. Sorry, I moved too many pages. Okay, so page 33, Department of Public Works, city property. Anything you want to highlight for us?
I think the only thing I want to note is that we're losing at least one custodial staff person overall. But I also want to note, and again, I'm assuming that it's known by the council, but the number of buildings that DPW is responsible for maintaining. And that includes the city hall, it includes the annex, it includes DPW, it includes the Council on Aging, it includes, let's see, the police station, it includes the Central Fire Station, Elmwood Fire Station, Highland Fire Station, and the West Hoyoke Fire Station, as well as the train station. And so I had several conversations with our facility manager, building maintenance superintendent, because you'll look at the dollars associated for each of those buildings. It's not a lot for buildings that can be over a century old. And in fact, it's interesting, some of the newer buildings have more challenges as opposed to the older buildings. But when we look at fixed costs for each one of those facilities, you can take $10,000 of each one of those facilities, and those go to fixed costs every year. Those are for the annual inspections for the elevators, the smoke alarms, the sprinkler systems, the other alarms that are in, depending on the building you're at. And then there's another $5,000 on top of that for annual inspections that go for cleaning supplies, toilet paper, paper towels, upkeep to the vacuums in each of the buildings. So when you look at these individual buildings line items, the leftover after the $10,000 is spent on guaranteed cost items is what's there to do any improvements, but in most cases it's reactionary and you're responding to what breaks first.
Nice. All right. I'm sorry, it's so hard to see from over here. Councilor Graney and then Councilor Rivera.
Just quickly, I'm curious, what about the War Memorial? Who maintains that?
War Memorial Commission was in a couple weeks ago.
They maintain, or does the city maintain that property?
We do.
The city does, yeah.
City does.
Okay. That's not on the list here.
It has its own sheet, page 51,
Okay.
which we had Lottie in at one of the hearings before this to talk about that department, so.
All right.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes. Just quickly, the services that are contracted through ROCA, what line item would they fall under building maintenance, or would they fall under like a whole different?
They're under highways and bridges. We've got a meeting coming up with them in the next couple of weeks to fully ascertain what kind of services are they able to do. Are they,
Okay.
So at this point, they're under highways and bridges. They go out and do some of the parks maintenance, especially on the passive parks. They can do some of the tree pruning.
Yeah. I asked because, and again, formerly incarcerated here, so I know when I was incarcerated, I maintained a whole campgrounds at Shirley, minimum, maximum, and medium, and we did do the grass grounds. We also did building maintenance within the visiting rooms and also the campuses that we had to maintain. So for me, it's like if we can use some of the services around the organization for the sites for the different buildings and mostly the grounds, the outer workplaces and some of the insides. Not only does it also allow for them to gain more work experience and hopefully transition into a role where they can work for the city in the future, because that would be the ideal. But at the same time, it could cut back on costs for us with regards to
Sure.
what we're trying to do in the long term. But thank you again for trying to meet with them and
Oh,
trying
no,
to
we,
figure
we
out
have
how
a
to-
dialogue
Yes,
started,
I
so
appreciate
we're
that.
trying to, make sure that their resources are applied appropriately.
Right, thank you.
Maximized.
Thank you.
How's that? I have Counselor Givner and then Counselor Bacon.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm just curious, and I don't know the legality of this, but I'm just curious of the cost incurred by inspections done by like the fire department for sprinklers or like elevators. Who does does the fire department do elevator inspections?
No, it's another group that would do that, but they do the sprinkler inspections and things like that.
So I guess I just wonder, as a city, if the fire department is part of the city and the city budget, why we have to pay separately the fire department to do inspections for the city and for city buildings. That's just
There
a
is-
general
there is an
question I
answer
just
to
don't
that.
understand. Thank you.
There is an answer to that. I don't have it, but I know there is an answer to that.
Thanks, Mayor.
Well,
I know there is, because I remember.
Yeah, no. I like that. There is an answer. I just don't know it.
I know there's an answer though. I just remember having this conversation previous years.
So
It just seems like we'd be able to like work something out so that like those inspections offset something in their budget or something like that, you know?
We charge for water and sewer. Again, within these budgets, at least DPW's budgets, we not only do we have to pay them for those services, but there's a number of other departments we pay to as well. So,
Thank you. Are you all set, Counselor Givner?
Yeah, I'm not getting answers today, apparently. Thank you.
Well, at least you know. Counselor Bacon?
Thank you. So I'm looking at object code 52100. And I remember a few years ago, we went through a huge project to change all the lights in the city to lower the usage of our electricity. And so I'm wondering why street lights are budgeted so much higher.
So I got those assumptions from Jeannie,
Okay.
the numbers that are plugged in there. I just
Okay.
don't know why the cost went
But you
up.
know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Because
It
that
went
was a
down in
huge
previous
project,
years. Yeah.
right? And so now it's like, unless they're anticipating, and I can't remember us
A rate
getting a
increase
big
or
rate
something.
increase. I saw
Yeah.
the water rate change, but I didn't see
and I've also learned
electricity. I think
the
already.
lights, they only last about 10 years. So I don't know if we're getting to the end of that and they're energy efficient.
Well, this is energy though, not
Right, but if their
necessarily
energy
replacing
use
the lights,
is
but
increases, because I
well,
think they're.
I don't know. I don't know about that level of detail, but that was the goal with the whole project. And I don't think it was 10 years ago, but it may just be related to rates. I don't know. But it's a big change, so it would be good to know. I guess.
Could it be related to like more stoplights that have lights on them? No,
Oh,
'Cause
the
we have a
solar?
lot. Yeah.
Those are solar.
Oh, that's true. I wish all of them were solar then.
Well, the stop ones.
Maybe that's something we can have some follow-up on.
Sure.
Okay. We are joined in chambers by Counselor McGrath-Smith. Thank you for being here. Counselor Sullivan?
I think I can answer the question on the streetlights. I think that's one item that we did scale back on, and then we had to make a transfer later in the year to cover it. I'm doing that from memory, but I'm pretty sure that that's what happened there. But also, that is correct. There's the upgrade to LED lighting throughout the city is being amortized over a number of years. So once that's done, there should be a significant decrease. It's not adding a couple of streetlights or stoplights that would do that. So
Thank you. Counselor McGrath-Smith. We are, just to let you know, we're on page 33.
Thank you. I apologize I was late. I'm a den leader for my son's Cub Scout troop.
Of course
Tonight
you are.
it was our last meeting, so I had
Love
to be
it.
there. We're doing advancement, everyone's like, lions become tigers, tigers become bears. It's great. But I was trying to listen on Zoom as I was driving over, so I apologize if I'm reiterating. I hope I'm not. One of the things I've been trying to understand is around DPW's role in cleaning buildings, which I was hearing coming up as I was driving in. Some, on other pages that we've already seen, there will be like a part-time janitor named or a full-time janitor named, but then other departments don't. And so it was, and I saw there was, one loss of a custodial position. So I would just love to understand in the budget as it currently exists, it sounds like there's one, I can't remember if it's part-time or full-time position for War Memorial. There's another one for the Council on Aging. But I don't think I saw in any other budgets one specifically assigned to a site. So I was wondering how the budget works in terms of those folks versus other custodial positions that are being used kind of writ large across a whole bunch of different buildings.
So, a couple of answers to that question. First, that should be part of the organizational restructuring because that's what I've been trying to figure out. It's almost like there's no plan. This was not done with any sort of end result. So we have custodians that get assigned because there's no one there today, so they show up. I'm not quite sure that they all know what they're supposed to be doing, not because they don't want to do it, but again, DPW lacks plans and lacks policies. So part of, after budget season is over, July 1st, I wanted to start having those conversations with these divisions to try and figure out who needs what and what do you need to make it happen. And, we even have these disagreements with different buildings because in some buildings we're being asked to replace broken appliances versus that coming out of that department's own budget. It's coming out of DPW.
Right.
And those are the things that we have no control over. So when something really happens and it becomes quite visible and DPW doesn't have the money for it, we're the ones holding the bag and looking like it's our fault. But, it's frustrating to look at.
It is, and I mean, I've only been there 5-6 weeks, but I think there's tremendous room for improvement. Each building should have some sort of standard operating procedure, so no matter who the custodian that might go there, they can look at that, what has to be done for the day, where do they go, where do they discard it, whatever it might be. There's none of that right now. So there's a lot of, organization that needs to be done to make things in coordination with other department heads as well, to just, run more smoothly.
So as a follow-up, if I may, so if something needs to be cleaned at the annex, can you pull the person from Council on Aging or from War Memorial to that site, or do those people stay just there because those fall underneath their budgets versus the custodial line that's under your budget, they go to every other building except for those two?
No, they move in between all those places, but there's not enough custodians.
Right.
If we move someone from here, then that custodial service, like a DPW, I think we're the ones that end up with losing the custodial services for other buildings, because I can tell that by looking at how many days have I gone without my trash being emptied. Okay, so there's again, it's back to capacity again. There's over the years more responsibility, more expectations been put on the custodial staff, and this isn't a reflection on the people who are there. It's a reflection on the lack of a policy or procedure and actual direction and expectation.
Thank you.
Anyone else for this division? Okay, not seeing anyone else. We'll go to page 35, which is the Highways and Bridges Division. Department 425. And thank you, Jeffrey. All right. Anything here that we should know about?
So you'll note that we're down 2 HMEOs in this budget moving forward. I'll say it's not a function of the fact that we don't need them. We do. We don't pay enough to attract them and keep them. So that's why that's the reason for the vacancies and the openings. It's, we can't compete with other communities or the private sector. So, that's a decline in workforce. And you'll also note that the line item I'd like you to look at is 52600, repairs and maintenance, streets and fixtures. That's where your road repairs, that's where your potholes, that's where your cold patch, that's where your curbing, that's where your sidewalks. So, that's where when council files an order and they want to do speed humps, that's the budget of $75,000 that's targeted for that. I mean, we could use that up in the first month of the fiscal year. So, right now, we're busy looking at available funds that might be in some surplus accounts in order to just do the minimum patching like was brought up. But again, managing expectations here. This is what we have for a budget in order to make those things happen that council and the public would like and actually deserve. It's not like we don't want to do it. We just don't have the money to do it.
Councilor Bacon?
This is just a comment, not that I think this budget can fix it, but we sort of have two choices with the roads. We either fix the potholes or we're paying for the vehicle damages out of our law department claims and damages fund. So, maybe we should move some of the law department money over to DPW. Just saying, because there's a lot more potholes developing with all this rain as we're sitting here.
Even with that transfer, that'll probably get you another 2 weeks, maybe a month.
Yeah.
But it's
Get you to the end of the fiscal
short-sighted.
year.
It won't get us far.
It's a longer-term solution. What needs to occur, and again, I recognize that I like thinking we don't have a spending problem, we have a revenue problem here, but that's a different story, and we have infrastructure that can help solve that. But that being said, is we need to invest in maintaining what we do. When we do something new, we can't walk away from it and not think about it for 20 years, and then all of a sudden you've got a crisis on your hands.
It's happened all over the state.
But we
Yep.
our residents deserve, again, I hear them and I grieve for them. I ride the same roads with my car, and and one thing unique about this year is that President's Day weekend storm was an outlier, and that did a lot of damage.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many years we can tell the residents that, keep going back to the February 2025 storm and blaming it on that.
Mm-mm. Thank you. Councilor Rivera?
Yes, thank you. So just like the vacant positions, I guess for me, it's just, again, I don't want to sing the same praises again, but with the situation with and I see there's $100,000 for Roca. For me, it's just trying to understand the best ways, and I know we're working on this now, to try to train some of those workers to be able to be ready to take on some of those open positions, because for them, those would be good paying positions.
We talked
starting
about
off
that,
right
yes.
off the rip. So a $45,000 to $48,000 a year job for someone from Roca coming out of prison is a great job, especially with funds and what do you get, retirement, all the extra stuff, benefits that. I tell you this much, coming out of prison, I would be a trash guy in a heartbeat, right? I would be a guy that fills potholes in a heartbeat. So for me, it's trying to take advantage of that situation and try to capitalize it to the best of the abilities that we can. If it means that we're putting guys from Roca to help out and learn how to fill potholes and do some of the stuff, that would be a good learning experience just in general. Not trying to sing praises for the organization because I don't work for them, and that's not what it is. I think for us as a city, we are a city that, unfortunately, it's a transition space, right? Where someone learns and then they get promoted. Once they gain the skills, they go somewhere else that pays more. For us, I know from the population and the demographic, their loyalty is a thing, right? And what I mean by loyalty is you saved my life, you gave me a chance, I'm loyal to you to a certain extent, and trying to capitalize on that is where I'm trying to speak to. And thank you again.
Thank you. Not seeing any other comments or questions, so we will keep moving forward. Page 37 is the Division of Auto Equipment Maintenance. Same.
We react.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It breaks, it needs to be fixed.
Yep. Does anyone have questions for this division?
I would just like to note, though, that we actually are operating vehicles and equipment that go back to the last century.
That's wild. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Slowly but surely, it's
I mean,
Used to pick and choose what you want us to buy, though. $250,000 for a tree truck didn't go too far. Just saying.
well, all right, folks. I am gonna,
No, but you hit,
guys. If
What page is this?
not them.
we're on 37, so if folks,
What do we know?
any other questions? Okay. I'm going to keep moving forward because we've still got quite a few things going here. So we have the Division of Refuse Collection is 38.
Bless you.
Anyone?
I just,
Oh, Counselor Devine?
I just got a compliment more than, certainly no complaint. I think they're doing a great job. I know people were a little upset that overloaded their trash cans, but you certainly broadcast it. They should have known. I actually talked to a couple of my neighbors and said, you know, if you need to put it in my barrel, please do. So I think if neighbors do that, that might help a lot, but I just want to compliment you for doing that, and I know it's a tough thing.
They do a good job.
They do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Was that you with Counselor McGrath-Smith? Is that a hand?
Yeah, I just wanted to, one question around line 51102, the heavy motor equipment operators. It looked like we had seen a slight increase in that line. I was just wondering if that was related to union contracts or what that was related to.
51102 went down.
Oh, sorry. I saw expended 2024 was 410 and proposed in the major this year was 426,876.
No.
Yeah, 442 was what was budgeted for this.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I was looking at that
We're
first.
down one driver.
Okay. So the overall line for this is actually from 986 down to 933.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Counselor Regan?
Thanks. So my question is the broader question that I was tending to ask everybody if they didn't volunteer it, which was, you have many, many pages, so it's hard to get a sense of the whole budget for your department. And I'm just been asking everybody how much the budget went up from the prior year's budget in total. Because it's very hard to look at all these separate pages.
I didn't do that yet.
Huh?
Didn't do that yet.
Oh, okay.
that should reflect in the budget documents that TJ sent over, but let me hopefully get a breakdown for you for your final meeting when you take your vote. But that should be in that document.
Okay.
See
Thank
if
you.
I can find it.
Counselor Rivera?
Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry, because my only question is under what line item falls where we spend on when we expose of trash, like the costs of it? Is it in here?
It is. It's in the 52900.
52900. Okay. So, and the only reason why I ask is because 90-gallon barrels is not best practice. Just I'm gonna put it out there,
Right.
And like across the state, it's not best practice, and I know that because I learned that at the MMA conference. They had the expo, they had the barrels out, and the lady was like, "What do you guys have in your community?" And I was like, "We don't have those." Because they had a 35 and a 60. She said, "Then what do you have?" I was like, "We have 90." And she was like, "Oh my God, no.
Right.
So for me, it's and again, I understand that the 90-gallon for some people is not enough, but I've already filed an order just in case for having the conversation of if there is overflow, allowing for someone to pay as they go, right? Buying a bag that's purchased and that brings in the revenue to hopefully eventually, maybe if it's used, I'm not the mayor, it's you guys, and I'm not DPW, whatever revenue does come in, if it is approved, right, can be used to purchase other barrels that are smaller, that could be trash, and then using the 90-gallon to become recycling in a sense. So that way we're still using the 90-gallon as a recycling, we're encouraging recycling versus trash, and I just wanted to kind of like throw that out there for the air, for the room.
For the air.
You don't have to answer that.
Can I give you some good news, though? I mean,
Yes,
we
please.
just got notice, the mayor forwarded that we applied for a Swiffer grant with that grant writer that you all approved of two years
nice.
ago. So we've been getting lots of grants coming in, and so this is for a couple of $1 million, and we made it to the next round. So we're still active, and it includes new barrels, which are smaller. It includes 2 new trash trucks. And it also includes looking at single stream recycling, which makes it easier for people to recycle as well. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I have Counselor McGrath Smith and then Counselor Devine.
A question around the yard and people having access to getting down to bring their extra trash, their oversized items, and wondering which line item that would be coming out of. I know we hear this a lot. I'm sure at-large councilors hear it too. Ward councilors, I'm sure, are hearing it. Just folks continually asking, with kindness, can we please extend the hours? Can we be open more days? Can we be open 1 or 2 evenings during the week so that folks can get to it who maybe can't get to it during the hours we're currently open, Tuesdays and Thursdays? So wondering where that line item would be paid out of.
Okay,
and
so it's
how we
paid out of-
explain that to constituents around like why it feels inaccessible.
So from a council's perspective, what do you want the laborers to not do to keep the yard open? And that's what it comes down to. We don't have the staff to do it all. So if we're going to pull 2 people off of patching, if we're going to pull people off of trash collection, you know, the staff capacity is what that limiting factor is.
Mhm.
There's just not the people to pull off of the jobs that need to be done. So, you know, if council wanted to change that, it's either more staffing or, you know, I don't know, creating an ordinance that requires us to be open that much, and then we'd have to take the staffing off of. Sorry, Mayor.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
It's a staffing issue. We don't have the bodies to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you asked for a budget, but you know, and I just wanted to draw your attention to 53100. So that $342,000 is what the city pays to dispose of all of those things that people are bringing there, their mattresses, their TVs, all that other stuff. And while there are some minimal fees associated with that, it's not $342,000 we get in return for taking in all of those unusual disposal items.
Yeah, I know the recycling committee at one point looked at how much it costs because we had heard from residents that it would be great if we could do more hazardous waste days. And I think the data we got was that the last hazardous waste day that we had done had cost the city $17,000.
Right.
Because that's how much it costs in order to get rid of hazardous waste. So it was more just from this budget trying to understand where those things get paid out of. When people ask us, we can say like, here's where this comes out of, and here's how much we spent this year, and why we're only able to offer 1 hazardous waste day per year or 2 in terms of what we're planning to do this coming year.
Okay, and then I have Counselor Devine and then Counselor Bacon.
Thank you. The grant that you were just talking about, Mary, is that just for recycling and trash, excuse me, or can you use it for speed humps?
No, this is all
Waste?
associated with recycling trash.
Okay,
It's got
all
some
right.
studies in it looking at increasing our access to those that live in apartments 4 or more
Okay.
units.
And trying to see how to delicately put this, the hours that people work. It's still that 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock if things are done?
Right now, that's what their contract does say, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I have Counselor Bacon and then Counselor Sullivan.
Thank you. So this is just a quick thought, and it may sound somewhat contradictory, because I know you're hearing that people want to have more access to the yard drop-off. My thought would be, if we have the constraints that we do, to just put it out there and note that they're limited, but then try to do the best to keep it open at the limited hours so that it can be dependable. So you might have to do it less frequently, and people would have to work around to figure out when to get there, but actually reduce the number of hours it's open so that you're not pulling people off. Because I mean, I have to say, if I have to pick, based on what I hear from constituents, the potholes and the patching comes way before being able to drop off your leaves or a mattress. You know, just based on the feedback I get. So if I have to pick and choose and say, well, folks, I'm sorry, but it's only open, I don't know what, you know.
It's only Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesdays and
Yes,
Thursdays
right.
is what it is now?
Right.
Like, is it all day?
No.
No, till about 2 in the afternoon, probably.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not a lot anyway.
No, it's not. I mean,
So-
it's
Yeah.
bodies.
Right, but I noticed on the page we were looking at, there was only one laborer in that whole budget.
They come from other divisions, so we might take one from parks, or might take one from highways and bridges, so yeah.
You know, yeah. And it's very hard to see how the operation works the way this budget is laid out, because it's not in any sort of organizational fashion. Do you know what I mean?
We only get to fill in the blanks. This is what we're given, yeah. It's,
You know,
we don't get
but
to create it, yeah.
At least you get a list of employees,
Yeah.
right? But anyway, but you already know all this. But, so, yeah, thank you.
I have Counselor Sullivan and then Counselor Gibner.
I just had a answer to Counselor Again's question. The increase here is 2.5%.
Oh, for the whole?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Gibner?
Thank you, Madam President. I have used the DPW for the dump, and it's inconvenient, but it does exist. It is open Saturdays on holiday weekends, or after a holiday weekend, so people can schedule accordingly. It is inconvenient for the most part, but it is a really great service that we have. And, you know, we can't expect more services and everything to be perfect in the city if we don't figure out ways to get more revenue. So I commend the department for doing the best they can. I think they're doing really great service. The trash pickup has been awesome. And I honestly feel like the loudest voices who have problems with the way the trash and the recycling are picked up are not the majority of the city. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, not seeing any other discussion. We're going to keep moving. So now 39.
Which department?
Municipal parking facilities. I'm assuming that's also DPW, right?
Mhm.
And that is page 39, and it's Department 480.
Back.
No way. Don't even. There's a bat. It's fine. It's my biggest fear.
Oh my god.
Batman is flying
It's
around.
fine. Everything's fine. Yeah. Okay, page 39 is the Department of Municipal Parking Facilities. Want to add anything? I'm dying right now. Sorry.
That's why I came running in early.
Oh, okay. Anything you want to add?
It won't hurt you.
Okay. Any questions for page 39? Okay. Then we have 48 and 49, which is Public Works Parks Division. Okay.
I'm sorry, what page was that?
48 and 49. You're welcome. And And Mary, that's, 650, department number 650. Anything you want to highlight for us? Or shall we just dive into questions if folks have them? Okay. Yes. Counselor Bacon, Counselor Sullivan.
So where is our tree climber parks guy in here?
He's generally in the overtime.
He's in the overtime?
Right, that's my understanding.
Oh, because I thought he had two jobs, one under the, oh, that's where the overtime
Yes.
charged
Right,
to?
yes.
Okay, hang on. And which line is that? Oh, I see it. Okay. And this is all him?
I don't know that.
Mostly him.
I don't know that.
But that's the only way he can get paid over and
Oh, I see Mike Gallagher has his hand up. Mike?
Okay, then.
Did you want to add to that?
Yes, 'cause
Sorry, I missed
it's up
that.
to you, I don't,
Yeah.
yeah, I,
Absolutely.
Hi, Mike.
these are, in 6 weeks I haven't learned this part.
Sorry. You're doing great.
Hello.
There you go. We can hear you.
All right. Yeah, are you asking like how does John Tui get paid for being the park supervisor?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. He does park supervisor, all part of his city forester, out of his city forester pay. He gets that he does everything under that one pay. When forestry and parks maintenance came over to DPW, it was the division of parks, recreation, and forestry. And when they came to when they got merged to DPW under Mayor Sullivan's administration, the former park supervisor had retired, and they had John Tuig do both jobs, and he's been doing both jobs for almost 20 years now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the historical context. Counselor, I have Counselor Givner first, but now I don't see your hand up. Was that?
That was for the last.
I'm sorry. Okay, Counselor Devine.
Yeah, under 53010. If you could explain that, unless the numbers are, the number seems strange to me.
53010. Contract services.
So this is the one if the mayor has that answer, because this budget came from you and John hasn't caught back up with me because I have a big what for on mine even.
53010 contract services for the parks.
Oh, yeah.
Mike, did you want to add? Or do you need to be on mute?
Edward, do you remember contract services in the parks? That's not, is that sheriff's?
Yeah, so that's a combination of a number of different options that we were looking at, sheriff's being one of them, and like Councilor Rivera was talking about earlier, just, some different ways to be able to address some of these issues as they come up. So just trying to enhance the ability to maintain parks throughout the city, using a combination of both employees and contracted service.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes, I think just to go back to the park superintendent / city forester. So if we're correct, then his salary is only the 74 that's in that line item in forestry, or are we tapping into the overtime as well to cover some of the parks?
To answer that, yes, he does get paid overtime out of the parks budget for the overtime he's working on behalf of the parks. So, we could paint a couple different scenarios. I'm sure we can all kind of imagine, but if it's a weekend, for example, I've had this experience with him where it's, a weekend and the ball field needs to be dealt with before the big jamboree. he's usually the one out there doing that work. That overtime would be charged to this budget. That's one specific example of how that, our friend is getting close.
No, thank you.
Close those doors. Close one.
I'll be taking Councilor McGrath-Smith. Wait, so I had Councilor Rivera, and then Councilor McGrath-Smith, and then Councilor. No, you're all set. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm behind. Councilor McGrath-Smith.
Thank you. I had a question around the water and sewer line. It's 48,900. Does that include water for the pool?
What line are you on now?
Sorry, this is 52300 under expenses, the second line, water and sewer.
Correct. That's the seasonal water service. That's what we had a transfer request for the last meeting. Because last year we only got 29,000.
Okay.
And we had a deficit of 45,000.
And then is that inclusive of, for example, all of the splash pads?
It is.
As well as the pools?
It is.
Okay. All right, thank you.
It should be, and all of it is all, when it comes to the utilities, so like electricity, heating, gas, water, you take your guess. Some of them, sometimes, I don't believe it's true for this one, but in the past, they've been purposely underfunded to keep the tax rate low, and then when we get to year end is when the true ups, right? Like whatever the budget gaps might be before the close of the fiscal year is when there's all these transfers that come in front of you so that we can, get the deficits funded or the perceived deficits funded and taken care of. So that dollar amount right there might hit the target. It might not around May, June time. If it doesn't, we're back here transferring money around to get our utilities paid.
I understand it's an estimate. It's a projected cost.
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay. Then I do have now, for real, Councilor Rivera. And just a note, I got a message. If everyone can just make sure that you're either pulling your microphone closer to you or speaking into it, just so folks can hear at home.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're doing great.
All right, I'm here. Now, so just with regards to the water part, right? I know that there's fees collected at the pool. I guess I should have asked this question, but Monday was the first day, so maybe he's still learning the system. But with regards to the fees collected at the pool, are the fees helping offset the cost with regards to water and sewer? Because my understanding is there's certain revenue generated with regards to the fees. It's not a significant amount, but it's an amount that could literally be put towards the costs that are here. That goes into a revolving fund, is my understanding.
We don't access it to pay that bill.
Okay, thank you.
Does it go into a revolving fund, or do we have a?
I don't believe there's a revolving fund for the pool.
So fees collected for the pools, there's no dedicated accounts going to, just going to the general fund?
Yeah, well, it would be budgeted as revenue, and that's used to offset the.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
And do you know, can you bring up a number
I can try.
of what was collected last year?
He can try.
I can try. Thanks, Rory.
Okay. Is that it, Counselor? Okay. Anyone else for this division? Okay. Keep moving. Is that it? No.
You got the wastewater treatment plant.
Oh, I knew I had one more. Yeah, that's a big doozy. I'm like super distracted by the bat in the hallway. I'm sorry, guys. I have a huge fear of bats. Everything's fine. 57, page 57 is administration and operations, and 58 is debt service and capital outlay. So
Okay, so this one needs an explanation because we've plugged in a number because we're still negotiating with the recommended contract operator, which came from the review team, which is Veolia. So we're in negotiations right now to finalize the contract. And because we're negotiating those numbers, I mean, what I can share is that those numbers are less than. So we're not going to be looking at an increase in the budget.
Okay.
But I do want to caution the council, since they've underfunded with the sewer rate last year, we were already projecting a $927,000 deficit for this year. And on top of the deficit, because the sewer rate wasn't funded at the requested amount, we have an additional deficit of, it's approaching 700,000 with the TSS and BOD flow loads, as well as the emergency repairs. Now, the new contract takes care of the TSS and BOD. We're not going to see that, and we're also not going to see, because the new contract includes $750,000 annually for repairs, maintenance, and capital costs. So we've greatly eliminated that risk.
Going forward.
Going forward.
So,
Yeah, Councilor Bacon, just.
thank you. So a large part of that was that 515 million true up to the contract, right? It was something in that. It was 500-something thousand.
So each year, we're in year 20,
Yeah,
you
it
got
was
a
a big
true up
one.
at the end.
Yeah.
Right, but the true up's always associated either with the flows at the plants with TSS and
Correct.
BOD, or the
But this was a
emergency
big one,
repairs.
if I remember correctly.
No, I did a 5-year look back, and we've been paying over 500,000 for the last several years.
So that part wasn't a surprise.
No, because this is
Okay.
what's going to be happening, and because we didn't have the monies to address breaks, and the old contract language with the TSS and BODs put us at risk.
Oh, okay. The way that it came through, I sort of perceived it to be unusual, but.
No, it was not.
Okay, good to know. And good that it won't be that volatile going forward.
Correct. We took a lot of that risk
A
out
good
of it.
smooth
yes.
out. Yeah.
Mayor, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, the one thing I will add is when you do get the budget from us, it's going to be 3 months of funding for the current contract and 9 months for the new contract. So it will, and again, it will also reflect, I just gave you almost $1.6 million in a projected deficit.
Right. Thank you. Questions from councilors? Mayor, did you want to add?
This was the end for the DPW budget?
Yes.
Is that a question or?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know.
It was a question,
Okay.
yes. So in closing here, just so that folks are aware and to prepare the council, like once we get through the lift we're working on with, the municipal finance changes, I'm hoping to have us all focus on restructuring how we're operating at DPW. So, there's a lot of inadequacies. The current framework, the way that it exists, is not a lot. There might be some. I think we've talked about it extensively. There's plenty of opportunity to do things a little differently to produce better results. Obviously, it's they operate. They do the best they can with what they have, but as we went through this exercise here, I think we've heard a recurring theme of, yes, we want to do X, but we need more of this, or we need better manpower. And some of that even is, if we were to just do things or it's going to be ordinance changes, it's going to be charter changes, probably contractual negotiations, a combination of those different institutional things that exist that we need to figure out like the best framework that we want, so we can start working on making those systems changes and have a better operational flow at the DPW. So just to prepare you all, like that's a conversation we're going to have in the near future, hopefully, so that we're trying to hit a better target situation with the DPW organization.
Should be fun. Thank you. Thank you both for being here. Thank you, Mike, on there, and Matt.
Thank you.
The whole
Good night.
The whole crew, thank you, appreciate you.
Thank you.
Here.
Right, so we're gonna go, yeah, watch the bat. We're gonna go back to planning, pages 17 and 18. I do see Aaron Vega here has joined us. Thanks for being here, Aaron.
Good evening.
Good evening. So, you know, what we've been doing, just if there's anything that you want to draw attention to that may be changed, let us know. And we'll open it up to questions, so go for it.
Sure. Thank you, Madam President and members of the City Council. Yeah, apologize for missing my spot. I was ordering food. You guys were moving right along in that first half, but always really great to hear.
Are you
from
bringing that in? The food?
Oh, yeah. I could have ordered some. Text me next time. But always good to hear from Mary and Matt Sokop, who we work a lot with in this office. So yeah, you have our budget in front of us. Obviously, you can see my proposal was to hope to get the development specialist position back in this office. That did not happen, and instead there was a cut to my office. So my staffing has been reduced. In addition, I also have my current senior project manager's last day is Friday, so we're definitely doing some reorganizing here in the office. Well, here in our different spaces of the office. So we spent the last year working with personnel, the union, and others, auditor, assessor, to divide the three administrative assistant positions because they're all unique in my office. There is some, similar skill sets, the posting of agendas and minutes and stuff like that, but each were very, very specialized. Very happy to finally have a full-time acknowledged full-time licensing agent, because licensing is a full-time position throughout the year. That person in that position has been working diligently and working a lot with the other departments when it comes to events and coordination of permits and whatnot. So happy for that, but obviously a big hit to lose admin assistant on the economic development side of the office. So we have a pretty lean budget, as you can see already, and not much added to the expense side. So we're operating as we can, and also just want to give thanks to Matt Sokop. Really glad that he's back on board, and Mira. We meet monthly on the different grants that we're all working on together. Yoni Glogauer from Conservation, and so definitely kind of share those resources. But very happy to have an engineer back so we can move out of some of those initiatives and some of those grants and projects that we've been leading on here in OPED that are really out of our scope. So really glad to have Matt Sokop back in engineering and work with Mary and her team. So as you can see, the budget's pretty lean. I'll probably be back to you. I'll probably plan on having an order in August to figure out what I'm going to do with the senior project manager versus development specialist position. Our plan is to post that in September. We were already kind of reworking some of the job descriptions, but our plan would be to figure out what makes more sense for this office as we manage a number of grants, a number of contracted services. So again, a lot of these positions are project manager type positions, so we'll be figuring that out over the next couple of months. Hope to put something out in September, but again, we may end up coming back to you to ask for a transfer to move that money into the development specialist line. But again, other than that, I can't imagine any other changes to the budget, and again, not sure exactly what we're going to do with that line. Staffing is tight, staff is leaving, but happy to answer any questions. And again, not much changes on the expense side, and you can see obviously my request versus what was funded. What's $76,000 difference with the staff changes. So,
Thank you. I will open it up to questions from counselors, if there are any. I think you did a good job answering.
Here we go. All right.
Things. So thank you. We appreciate your time.
All right. Keep me posted, and have a good rest of your meeting.
Will do. Thank you.
Right. Thanks.
All right. Up next, Office for Community Development. Alicia, thank you for your patience as well.
No worry. Thank you for having me tonight.
So Jeffrey did get, you sent something over later today, and I just wanted to make sure counselors here, do you need a hard copy? If you do, I have them in my hand. Would you like one?
That's okay.
Anyone else? Okay. And Jeffrey did pull it up on the screen, so thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
And Alicia, I'll let you take it away, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Sure, I've got a few bullet points. Right off the bat, I've heard that there was a request for the percentage change over last year's budget, and we actually are proposing a reduction of about 1.25% over last year. The Office for Community Development budget is funded solely from federal and state funds that are managed by the office. Those programs include CDBG, CDBG CV, Home ARP, ARPA, and the opioid settlement funds will be under our umbrella shortly. We finally got notified of HUD of our final FY 2025 allocations. That number did not get released until almost the end of May, which is why we were delayed in finalizing the budget. We are seeing approximately a 4.2% reduction in our annual CDBG allocation that will start the year on July 1st, and about a 1.3% increase in the home funds. Overall, as I mentioned, our budget is down from last year. On a year-to-year basis, when we looked at the budget analysis over the last 3 years, we typically end up budgeting a higher percentage than we actually use, which is good news. Any extra funds are driven back into the program, not for admin and planning, but for actual project purposes. Our budget is limited for administration and planning by the federal programs that we work in. So CDBG, the maximum allocation of our annual CDBG allocation that can be used for admin is 20%. And then it also falls in line for our home funds. Overall, our budget is down this year because we anticipate less of a need for consultants. This year was a bit more consultant heavy because we were finishing our 5-year consolidated plan. That's the large planning document that we do every year. From here on out for the next 5 years, we'll just be doing a simple 1-year grant application to HUD that doesn't require as many legal notices and consultants and that sort of thing. We did partner with Aaron and the Office of Planning and Economic Development to do the 5-year consolidated plan, so that a lot of the public input that was done was also the public input that he used for his overall comprehensive plan. So there is some consistency between the plans. Salaries this year are level funded, no proposed increases or decreases. Our budget is set up and designed to protect the city from any payouts in the event of staff departures. So you'll see on the line item detailed fringes 102, there's a buyback reserve, so that in the event of staff departures and payouts are necessary for sick time or vacation time, that funding would not fall, that responsibility would not fall to municipal funds. It would be paid from the grants. We are proposing to add one project position, which is not an administrative and planning position. It is an actual activity position that is going to be the community resource advocate or community resource manager. That person is going to be responsible for providing community level services through the Home ARP program as well as through the opioid program. Finally, where we are able to assist other departments, if we have funds in our budget that are applicable to another activity that a department is working on and they may be short, for instance, employee education, we have been trying to partner with other departments to make sure that some of the needs that they may just not have the municipal funds for, we are able to cover through the admin and planning budget upon the mayor's approval. So again, it might be an employee's educational opportunities, workshop opportunities, conference opportunities, that sort of thing. And then finally, I should note that although the federal budget that will be set in September of 2026 has not been finalized, both the CDBG program and the home program have been zeroed out by the president. So we don't know what's going to happen in this office come July 1st, 2026. So we're keeping an eye on that. I'm happy to take any questions. Pretty straightforward, consistent with prior years.
Thank you. Counselors, any questions? Counselor Rivera.
Yes, thank you. This is very thorough, I would say. The only question I had was around legal consulting.
Yep.
because I see that it's, and again, you said that you put it in and you don't always use it all.
Right.
Just maybe breaking that down real quick.
No, I'm happy to break it down, and thank you for pointing that out. We did bump up legal consultants this year because as we're approaching the end of the American Rescue Plan Act program, the ARPA program, we're running into some gray areas. When the program was initially released, it did come with frequently asked questions, guidance from the U.S. Treasury. It came with the law that enabled it. However, with the change in administration and some compliance changes, we've wanted to make sure that the city stays in compliance with the program. And so we've been working with our municipal law partner, KP Law, to answer some of the more technical questions around some of our projects. So that's why we bumped it up a little bit.
Thank you. And then the other one, I just got blanked real quick. Hold on a second. It was, wow, I lost it. I don't know. Damn, I lost it. Go ahead. Nah, if I get it back before it's your turn, then I'll
If
raise
you
my hand.
think of it, you can always send me an email too.
All right, got it.
Happy to answer it.
Anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry, Counselor Givner, I just saw your hand up. Go for it.
Thank you, Madam President. I just was curious about the opioid settlement fund, and I don't see a line item for it. Maybe I just can't see.
So the opioid settlement fund position is at the bottom of the budget. We're trying to figure out, so if Jeffrey scrolls down a little bit, you'll see it there as a community response advocate. And we note that the salary and fringes are funded as service activities.
Gotcha. And I would just like to say I'm happy to see it under under a department so that we can actually start working on this because I think it's really important. And
Yes.
I'm happy to see it come up at all.
So as an update for you and the public, we do have a management plan that we're working with the mayor to finalize. I did meet with the Board of Health a couple of weeks ago. They had some really good feedback. So we're updating that management plan. The city now has an opioid web page, a dedicated web page with opioid information. You can find it under the Office for Community Development, including a schedule of all the payments, where the funds are at, that sort of thing. And then once the process rolls out, I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks, we'll have a calendar posted that explains very clearly on how people can apply for funds, what our community engagement process is going to look like, that sort of thing.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Counselor Rivera, you remembered?
Yeah, I remember. Real quick. So municipal retirement, that is paying. That's the retirement piece paying into the retirement fund, correct?
So that's the what would be normally the city's share of the retirement that gets paid to the retirement board. The city does not pay it. It's paid from the grants.
Okay, perfect. That's one question. And the other one with the salaries that's like 3 people, right? Or 2 or 4?
Correct. We have 3 full-time positions. We
Okay.
have myself as the administrator. We have a finance manager and a special programs manager.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Counselor McGrath-Smith?
Thank you. Ms. Oler, I just want to say I'm really sorry about all the conflict that you're having in trying to set a budget and know what's happening in your department. I really appreciate you and all the work that you're doing in your department, and I hope that everyone who works for you understands that we see the stress that you're all under just due to not knowing what's coming. And thank you for all of the work that you have done and are doing.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. We really do. And we know that the city team is behind us. And this work, this money that flows in is just so critically important. So, we have faith, but who knows? Who knows? So thank you, though. It's much appreciated.
All right. Not seeing any other questions. So thank you very much, Alicia, for being here and staying and your patience.
No worries. Thank you all. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate
And
it.
again, if there's any questions, feel free to always reach out.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Last but certainly not least, we have the police budget. Come on down. Welcome, Chief. Welcome. Come on in. Sergeant Zerhead, it's nice to see you, not on the Zoom, you know, in person. It's always good. Thank you for being here.
It's a better atmosphere when you're here.
I don't know about that, but you know, it's something. Yeah, it depends on the night. Sure does. All right, gentlemen. So the page numbers are 19 through 21. And like we've been doing, Chief, I know this is welcome to your first budget season for the city of Holyoke. How thrilling. We're just gonna let you guys, if there's anything you want to highlight or bring to our attention, and then we'll do questions. Sound good? Sure. Just make sure your microphones are on. If the green light's on, yep, you're good.
Well, thanks for having us. I got to give credit to Sergeant Zerheide. We put a lot of work into this. He's diligent work. You'll see it as you look at the budget. You'll see it. It's a 2% salary increase and a 3% overall increase off last year. And that's the salaries due to contractual raises, and the 3% is due to some of the items that we put in. Upon arriving at the police department, I was able to notice some deficiencies that had to be corrected, like the training budget's been up, our tech budget's been up, and some other stuff that we just had to address to move the police department forward. And this is a real budget. There's not any fluff in there. It's bare bones to move the police department forward. As you know, we've been very conservative with our money. I anticipate returning somewhere between $225,000 and $300,000 back to the city at the end of the year from overtime money that we've saved on. So we've done our job. We're not wasting money over there. We respect the taxpayers and the taxpayers' money. And I think that in the past 5 months, we've provided a significantly upgraded police service to the residents of Holyoke.
Thank you. Counselors, would you like to start with questions? Counselor Devine.
Hi, welcome, both of you. Chief, just a quick one. I think it's 51120, building maintenance man. We talked about that, and there's nothing in the line item. Is there a plan yet? What you're going to do, custodial services?
Now, we've spoken with the mayor and Rory regarding that, and it will be done. And if you look at my building maintenance, it went up significantly. I believe some of it's going to be coming from that. We've been able to building repair and maintenance.
That is 52500. Thank you, Counselor.
Right. Yep.
It's on page 20.
20.
Repair and maintenance. Okay, yep.
Yes. Yep.
So that went up from 67,000 in 2004 to 80.
Yeah, I can tell you right before I came here, I was changing trash liners myself because we have an issue going on with custodial help right now. But I was assured that there is a plan in place to take care of the building maintenance. It hasn't been revealed to me yet, but I have trust in city government that will take place.
Thank you.
Is that good? Okay. Other questions? I have Councilor Rivera and then Councilor Bacon.
So I see officers went down from 98 to 92. Just if we could expand on that.
Sure. The cuts had to be made, and when we did the budget, the positions that may not have been filled, we're having a very difficult time getting officers right now. And through my conversations with the mayor and councilors, if we are able to get those numbers, I have a feeling that we'll be able to come up with the money to fill the positions from other areas if necessary. But as of right now, Councilor, rather than give you a number that I can't fill and sit on the money, in the spirit of transparency, I would ask for what I can do.
And then I think this is a question that I've had for the last several years. It's not just you per se, but like the parade weekend overtime and special events overtime, like, is there a difference as to why they're in different line items, or
Sure.
why they can't be combined into one?
I believe the thought process behind this was to keep our money specific to what they are. The special events are for those agencies that we have in events of the city of Holyoke that wouldn't have the money to hire detail officers. So it's out of a sense of benevolence on behalf of the city, where if someone's having a road race or someone's having an event where they just couldn't have the money for the security, we provide that, and that's what comes out of the special events.
And just so it's clear, because I don't want every organization now calling me,
Yeah.
asking me. But there's annual recurring ones that we, anticipate, right? So there's Pride Fest. That's the Pride Fest. The 4th of July events are the last two of the fiscal year, and then there's the Noche de San Juan. There's Fiesta Patronales. There's the Paper City Food Festival. There's those annual ones, and then in between, there's these smaller ones that happen, and it has to be like nonprofit driven. That's for the community. Otherwise, they'd have to pay for their own detail. But that gives us a little flexibility just to make sure, like, there's, police presence and safety if they're expecting crowds outside on a street, if there's a closed street or whatever the case might be.
So just real quick, so separating them, because they all sound like special events to me.
So the parade weekend one, when we inherited that one, and I could see why, and we can do whatever we want. I mean, I like it this way personally because it allows us to see exactly what we spent for parade weekend. It keeps it separate and transparent, so that we know, right, it comes out of that line of exactly what was spent for parade weekend.
And going forward, Council, we have a new scheduling system coming online July 1st, hopefully, which is going to let us itemize our overtime expenditures down to the event, to the penny. So I could tell you I spent $53,000 on the parade, I spent $800 on Pride, I spent $9,700 to backfill overtime position. It's going to take all the ambiguity out of the police department coming, I need $100,000 for overtime. It's going to say I need $100,000 because I spent ABC on 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'll make things a lot easier going forward.
Thank you. And then the Quinn bill looks like it's a little higher than it was in the past.
So that is for those following.
My bad, I don't know the lineup.
It's cool.
The numbers.
It is 51920. Yeah. I'm sorry, that's on page 20.
20, yep.
So last year, $587,024 were spent. This year, it's going to drop to $537,501. So we did reduce it, and that's because of two to three retirements that are no longer working at the police department. That's brought that cost down, and that will significantly drop over the next couple of years because there's not many people left on that line item.
And that's something we're fully funding as a city, right? Not with a state reimbursement anymore?
Yes, that's gone, yeah. State reimbursement's been gone since 2011.
Okay. And then I guess the last question I have is what particular line item is ShotSpotter coming out of?
Subscriptions and technology, I believe.
It's coming out of, I have it right here, it's 53010 Data Maintenance Equipment Services.
Yeah.
And that's at $300,000 for next year?
Yes.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
53010.
Okay.
And is ShotSpotter all $300,000 or?
No. No, ShotSpotter's around 100, right around 100.
Okay, thank you.
And just so you're aware, and this one is, this goes to that special strategy that we have. So that line items underfunded. So you can see it was requested 513. So later there'll be transfers between lines to keep up with the data management. Because the chief does have a list of different data subscriptions that we have with all these different needs that they have, and what's budgeted there that What I'm saying is that that's currently an underfunded line. That would require a transfer later.
So it's going to be higher than the 300,000 now.
Yes.
They're looking at the 513,650 is the chief's submitted budget, and then I have it down at 300,000.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Rivera, you all set?
I'm all set.
Okay. And then I have Councilor Bacon and then Councilor Gibner.
Thank you. So for those of us who've been here a while, we've had many discussions and debates about the number of captains that you have in it for. And I'm just interested to hear your thinking on it.
Sure. So right now, there's 4 captains, right? The 4 captains oversee the 4 biggest divisions, shifts, first, second, third shift, and detective division. They're all important enough positions that they should be overseen by a captain. Ideally, I would love to have a captain, a lieutenant, and then a group of sergeants. And one thing, Counselor, in policing today is the supervisor numbers have to be higher than they were in the past because of the scrutiny that's on police officers today. And part of the management style that's coming into the police department in the last years, the city's invested significant money in developing and training these captains with leadership skills and running things. Running their squads. And with the new computer staffing system, I'm holding them responsible for things that have never been done in the history of the Holyoke Police Department. As a matter of fact, I'm meeting on Wednesday, so I want to know their projected overtime, their sick time, their training deficiencies. In the past, I could see where that argument could have been made, but not anymore. Captain is, I look at it as a deputy chief. I've told the 4 of them they're mini chiefs of their own divisions. They own it. So there's no more pointing like this, because when I came in, and I had conversations. There was like sergeants were swapping shifts with captains. That's going on in Hollywood. You can't do that because a captain is a captain. A captain's a high-ranking police official who didn't just get a raise. He got quite a bit of responsibility with it. They have the responsibility. I don't know what happened before January 6th, but there's a considerable amount of responsibility with that position today, and I need them. In a perfect world, I'd have 3 more lieutenants and a couple of more sergeants because supervision is that important. I believe we have 30 officers in the Holyoke Police Department with more than 10 years' experience. We have a very, very young police department, and to reduce supervision it'd be a really irresponsible move on behalf of the council.
Well, I thank you for that explanation and that perspective. And I also want to compliment you on all of the different initiatives that I've been seeing in the news that have been taking place in our city. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. The credit goes to the boots on the street. Police officers and the supervisors have really, they've stepped their game up. They're excited. They're working, and they're making us proud. I believe last week, I think we had 20 arrests for, serious quality of life things that were wreaking havoc in the city, and it's just going to keep going. The officers are, they're really stepping up and doing their jobs. I'm proud of them.
It's
Very
being
happy with
noticed.
the level of cooperation.
Thank you. And leadership matters too.
I think the captains prior to this chief, I think they were all on the day shift.
There were some odd things.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Well, to that point, Counselor, there was a perception that they thought they were all going to the day shift, and they're good officers, and they've worked hard, but they're newer officers. They don't have a lot. They haven't had a lot of time. And a lot of police agencies prior to recent, it would take you 20 years to become a captain. Due to retirements and the way the trends and patterns have gone, it's just not that way now. I told them that under my tenure, a captain is going to be a squad commander. There's going to be a captain on all 3 shifts and a captain in the detective bureau. I don't need 10 guys on Monday. I need cops there when crime's being committed. I need senior management there in off hours when there's not people there. On a day shift, you can call a DA, you can call the law department. Well, 2 o'clock in the morning, the patrolman on the street need a senior leadership person there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay. And then I have Councilor Gibner on Zoom.
Thank you, Madam President, and welcome, Chief. It's always a pleasure to get to chat with you. I just had a question about, I know you mentioned there's going to be, that your plan is to have different different people assigned to the wards, like more neighborhood policing. So I was curious of how that might work, or if that's a separate line item, or if that would be just part of people's job descriptions.
It wouldn't be a line item, Counselor, but it's a philosophy that I embrace. With our numbers, it's challenging to do that. So what we've done is we have our patrol officers working in the same wards and districts every single day as best we can. Eventually, when I get a full complement, I would like to put a lieutenant in charge of, I'd like to ideally chop the city into 2 or 3 major sectors and put a lieutenant in charge, and he would own that stuff. But I just can't do it right now with my numbers. The thought process is there. It's worked in other places. I know it can work in Holyoke, but we're light too many people to do that right now.
Understood. And I look forward to when that can happen. And then I was curious about with currently, it's my understanding that we do not have a crime analyst. Is that correct?
As of noontime today, we made a conditional offer to a crime analyst, and I think it's a great win for the city. He's a retired Hartford police sergeant. He was a 20-year police officer in Hartford, and he's worked in colleges after that. And he has a skill set. He supervised the crime analyst unit in the Hartford Police Department. I think we got lucky with this one because we're getting a guy who can just come in and run. And come in and run with it. We don't have to worry about getting him trained up. And he's an older gentleman. I told him that I needed a commitment to for a few years. I can't do this for 6 months and go to the other one. He seems like he's all in. So pending a medical and a background check, we should have hopefully starting July 1st.
Well, that's excellent news because, as you know, I feel like a lot of our data collected isn't as useful without a crime analyst. So I'm happy to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
I have Counselor Sullivan, then Counselor Rivera.
Yep, thank you. Chief, can you tell me how much you have available right now in the Seized Assets Fund?
I can't. I wish I could, but I can't. Joe, we looked at it. Do you know what it is off the top of your head?
I don't. I can email the council those. I can email Jeffrey the exact figures tomorrow. I don't want to speak out of line and give you the wrong number. But I will give you the federal and the state forfeiture account, the exact balance of what we have in there as of tomorrow morning.
Okay, and in doing that, not only what's available, but what is out there. I know not encumbered is not the word, but there's readily available and then there's potentially available, right?
You can never come up with that number, Counselor, because anything can happen in court. And I know the discussion it's in regards to that article that was in the Hampshire Gazette about the Hampshire County seizures from the gentleman who owned the property in Holyoke.
Yep.
Completely different case. The Holyoke Police Department had nothing to do with that case. That was a Hampshire County case, and that's why all those municipalities received funding. Our case is very complicated because the defendant passed away. A lot of his assets were in the name of a family member. So I spoke with Jennifer Fitzgerald, the first assistant district attorney, at length about this the other day. The DA's office is proceeding through probate court, and it takes time. Probate court, it takes a long time to get there. So there's money coming in the pipeline if we win, because there's no guarantee on that one, because the defendant was never found guilty, and he passed away during the process. And so those assets were from McCarr's collections and things that were in Hampshire County. That wasn't a Holyoke thing, but it's difficult to say what's pending because you can think you have a pool of money coming and the defendant wasn't guilty. He beats the case and it's his stuff. Or things they plea out, and part of the plea is they get their assets returned to them as condition of pleading guilty. So that's completely out of our hands.
I understand that. I think we all understand that. What's happened previously, those are ones that are still in court. We get that. But other seized assets that we have, in the past we've been told only so much was available because it was set aside for potential return or refunds. All right? I'm just telling you what was told to us in the past. So I just want to make sure that we're not going down that road again. All right? That what do we have in seized assets, right? Not just what is available to us, right?
So the current balance of the state and the Fed account is what you're looking for?
Right.
Okay, we can take care of that.
Yep.
We can get you that tomorrow.
Thank you. Counselor Rivera, and then I see Counselor Gibner's hand is up again.
Yes. So, I mean, with the seized assets thing, I'm kind of confused. Maybe everybody else understands, but for me, I don't understand. And you can't handle this or manage this. This is actually more litigation that's a lot higher than us. But like, they actually seized the cars in Holyoke. Like, I understand it's a Hampshire County case, but they seized it in Holyoke. The property's in Holyoke, so it's Holyoke. It was in Holyoke, more or less. So, like, for them to say that it's not Holyoke, even though it was a case in Hampshire, doesn't necessarily make sense to me. Like, I understand that, like, the case was investigated in Hampshire, but you found the stuff in Holyoke. So the impact was done to Holyoke, in Holyoke.
So Counselor, when you have a task force, right?
No, I understand the task
So
force.
when you have a task force, what happens is each agency, depending on how many man-hours they put into the task force, is allotted a percentage of the assets. So if Holyoke doesn't have a representative in there, you don't get it. So that's why, like, when task forces are looked at as something that's a luxury, it is for some places, it's not here. Because so task forces, they often pay for themselves, and they pay for themselves with resources, but we didn't have anyone involved with that case, so we don't receive any of the assets from that.
Totally get that piece, but the impact that's being done is done in Holyoke. So that's the part, and again, this is larger
That's
than
above
you.
us,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. It's larger than you, it's larger than everything else, so it's not necessarily a you thing, but the impact is in Holyoke. Not the impact wasn't in Hampshire County, the impact was here. The other piece to me was the captain with regards to, what was it, the detectives, is that new?
Captain Cruz.
No, but I'm saying, is it new with regards to being on detectives? Because why detectives and not traffic, I guess, for me is the question, right? Can we put a lieutenant or a sergeant with regards to managing the detective section? Because we work in task force, right? We work with the federal government, we work with a variety of different people that come together. Is there a necessity to have a captain on the detective crew versus traffic in the community? And I ask that because I bet you there's a lot of people in positions of power that are on a part of that task force that have leadership skills and may be able to lead too as well, allowing us to kind of, because I'm okay with the fourth captain, but for me, in my opinion, it would be better allocated to focus more on traffic here in the community, because traffic is an issue given the recent uptick in accidents over the last several years. And for me, again, public safety prevention wise, when we attack traffic, we're kind of mitigating many other issues that we can prevent in the long term. But that's just my thought process.
So I agree with you with the traffic. I do think, I wish I had a traffic bureau. If I had 10 more guys, I'd have a traffic bureau today, right? However, a captain to the beginning, I need a detective bureau. So a captain manages, he's our liaison for death investigations, homicides, employee investigations. I need a confidant in detectives that when I have something going on that's very, very confidential, high-level stuff, that rank is very important. That he also supervises a lieutenant. He also supervises 2 sergeants. He's responsible for the seized cashier. He's responsible if there's a death in the cell. It's massive amounts of responsibility. It's not, you could maybe get a senior lieutenant, but I mean, it's, you need the position. And then also, when he goes to the courthouse, you need to know that the other agents know that you're sending a captain there. You're not sending a sergeant. You're sending a senior management person, because it's important to the running of it. And to put a captain in traffic, I'd have a captain in charge of nobody, so there wouldn't be anyone to supervise. We don't have a traffic squad.
I totally agree with you on that piece, but it would be the step in moving in the direction of actually gaining the energy and moving towards the traffic squad. I think for me, again, like you mentioned, senior lieutenant and various other positions can take on the roles, but if you feel that it's best served to put a captain in a position that someone else could possibly serve in, you're the professional. I'm not. So I would digress on that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to respond to that?
No, just on the forfeit, because I wanted to just clarify on the whole forfeiture, that case that happened in Holyoke on Main Street. So that there is a similar case, but the gentleman had 2 properties. So a home in Franklin County, town of New Salem, and a 5,000 square foot former firehouse converted high-end home, which was in Holyoke. So in New Salem, police seized upwards of 30 luxury vehicles, And so that's what we're talking about. Those that were involved with his properties that were in our community in Handham County, those are still pending as the chief described. But all those other ones were from that town of Salem that were seized. So that's why they're getting the money now, because that's concluding.
Salem is in Hampshire County?
New Salem.
Okay, perfect.
New Salem.
Okay, I have Counselor Givner and then Counselor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm all set. My question was answered.
Love that for us. Counselor Sullivan.
Yeah, just in regards to our upgrades in technology and things like that, and the conversations about a traffic division. In Massachusetts right now, is it still against state law to have red light cameras?
Yes.
Right. Is there any, I know there was a bill in front of the legislature to change that. I just want to point out, when we talk about traffic safety here and putting personnel to do it, when we have technology available, maybe it's something, not only our council, but our own police departments should be advocating for. I just learned recently in just Warwick, Rhode Island, they had 508 violations, and it's legal in Rhode Island to do this. 508 violations in one day. That's pretty significant, and I know we're not supposed to look at the police as generating revenue, but this kind of technology innovations would really certainly enhance public safety for sure, without having to put resources available on just writing those kind of tickets. It's all automatic, it's all computerized. I think this is something we should really be advocating for.
Yeah. It's got to get through the State House, and as you know, it's not always easy. Maybe next time Rep. Duffy and Senator Vilas are here, we can talk with them about
We will.
We'll send it to DGR.
That's right.
We'll be filing a letter of support for the legislatures that are forwarding. I believe he's out of Salem, Massachusetts. But.
Here you go.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else? Councilor McGrath Smith.
Sorry.
You were that kid in college, weren't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
I had two quick questions around the education and training line and the personnel equipment line.
Sure.
Just because it looked like there were some big discrepancies there. So it was $56,000 in the education and training line, which is 53190. Those of you who love that numbers column. So that was expended into 2024. This year you had proposed $150,000, proposed to the mayor is $100,000. Just love to hear your thought process on why you thought you needed 150, what you can do with 100.
Because I need 250.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. Chicopee Police Department has turned the corner, right? The Chicopee PD has turned the corner. It didn't have a great reputation in law enforcement, right? They've got 2 through the FBI National Academy. The deputy chief is at Perf at BU with a friend of mine from college. It's $17,000 ticket. They're senior management schools. So I'm not going, but if we're going to take a 15-year captain, right? You know what I mean? If we're going to take a 15-year captain, and we know he's going to be a potential chief for the Holyoke Police Department, we have to invest in them. We have to send them to these high-level schools that they're going to collaborate with people from Boston, from Chicago, from LA, from all these places where things are happening. Or we cannot do it, and we can look at rank as just being a raise, and we'll just do things the way we always have them. If we don't bring in our people, if we don't bring innovation in, we're never going to get out of the 413 bubble. All of the police departments in Massachusetts that are successful, if you look at their captains and their lieutenants, they've all been to Perf, they've all been to the FBI National Academy, they've all been to the Southern Institute of Policing. We have 0 graduates of any of those places here. So it's very expensive, and it's a commitment. If we sent someone to Perf, that would mean I'd have to take a captain and send him to BU for 3 weeks. We wouldn't have him for 3 weeks, and we'd send him with a check for $17,000. But I guarantee you when he came back, he'd have some great contributions to make to Holyoke. So if we're going to have a cutting-edge progressive police department, we're going to have to train our people to that standard. And The MPTC is great, but it's just not there. The high-level executive development council is extremely expensive, and I want to get those people in that way, and I want to identify leaders and train them up to take the police department in a new direction. And then you look at anything you go to now, any class you go. If I want to send a lieutenant to an internal affairs investigation, I can go to the one for free here that the MPTC offers, right? And it might be some guy working a third job, getting $50 an hour teaching the class, or I can send him to Eric Daigle in Connecticut for $2,500 and know I'm getting a 300 level training that he can bring back. So, I mean, it's all about putting our people in the place to win, and the best training, the best equipment. And I know we're not the Beverly Hills PD, but we do have money to do this stuff. It's there. If the money's not going on $50 million in overtime, we can train our people up, and we can make the Holyoke Police Department successful. I hope I'm the last external candidate you have for a long time. You know, I want to build our team.
You want to build a bench.
I want to build a bench, and if we can, we will. But the only way, Counselor, we're going to do that is through training. And there's a saying in policing: you either pay for training or you pay for lawsuits. You pick your poison. So that's why I find it to be that important. Look at them all. Our training budget, I believe, is half of Chicopee's. If you want to look at it, because that was what I was looking at. They couldn't believe that our number was 50 or 60,000 what it was before. And we're just not going to get there. We're not going to get there without training our folks.
Well, and the audit really did focus
well, that's another,
a lot on the
back
lack of education and training.
Well, back to the audit again. I mean, the audit says we need 30 more police officers. The audit says we need training. The audit says we need accreditation. The audit says, and we do need all that stuff. But everything in that audit, they're all big ticket items. You know, so the city will have to prioritize whether you want to spend the money and really bringing it forward, or we want to maintain the status quo. I mean, I'm all in for bringing it forward. As much as you fund me, I'll train these ladies and men. I mean, I think we have to, in speaking of ladies, we have to invest in our female officers. We have a ton of young female officers that need to be mentored, they need to be trained, they need to be encouraged to take promotional examinations. How do we do that? I currently don't have any female supervisors. I'd like to start sending them out to women's conferences where they're going to be around women that have been successful, that they see they can do this type of stuff. Every training's expensive. There's hotels, there's food, there's travel, there's all that stuff. So that's why I went up that high, Counselor.
No, I appreciated it, and I make sense to me, given one of the big focus areas of the audit was increasing the amount of education that we're providing to our force. I'm a big believer that people want to do good, and people don't know what they don't know, and people need more training so that they can do better. My other question, last question, I know we're all tired and it's late, is the personnel equipment line.
Sure.
So it was 145,000 and change expended in 2024. Proposed this year was 125, but the mayor put in 60,000. So I'm wondering, is it because we are going to be using a grant in order to purchase certain equipment? Is it because we could be out, laying in a certain way, but we've chosen a different option?
It's because I needed to balance the budget. There's money in that budget. We just got to be cute and move money around when we need it.
And also, Counselor, with some of the transfers that the council approved for me last month, I was able to buy some of the stuff I'll need this year off savings we had. So we can always use more. But I can say in my short tenure here, anything I've needed for our officers, the mayor has been able to provide. So I'm not worried about it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Councilors Devine and then Rivera.
Just real quick, I agree with you with the training. Several years ago, Chief Niswanger went to the FBI Academy for a week, I think it was. So I absolutely agree to do that.
Councilor Rivera?
Just real quick I'm with the training. That's one of the big proponents I was with before. I'm glad that you're speaking the language. The training doesn't fall under the Quinn bill, and is the Quinn bill still a mandate? Because if it's not, then why wouldn't could we be able to reallocate funding so that you're investing more in the training and making sure that the training is offered to everyone? Because the Quinn bill, to my understanding, is only to a certain amount of people.
So the Quinn bill is contractually obligated those who are eligible for it.
So we're, and just to be clear, are we the only community that's still paying the Quinn bill, or is every community paying the Quinn bill?
It's a community by community, but I would say in Western Massachusetts, 90% of them do it.
Okay. So community by community means that you don't necessarily have to?
Excuse me?
Community by community means that you don't necessarily have to?
So the trend actually, counselors, for the Quinn bill's coming back, and it's coming back at higher percentages. So there's a very small pool of interested police candidates, and if you look at those who are not having a problem filling their ranks, they have the full Quinn. And that's what's going on now. So like, we had one just leave us to go to Chicopee, because the Quinn's there. I took a phone call from a chief, which I couldn't, a chief from a very small town today wants to take another one of our guys. I lost one of the state police the other day. I have 12 that are currently on the new civil service list for other municipalities. So we start playing games and cutting things like that, we might have to.
It's not necessarily cutting, but like
you know,
reallocating
it's
funding for training in a sense.
It's not something that you want to do with a progressive police department. You want to encourage education. You want to get people to go to school, and it's time. It's got a sunset clause. It's going away. It's not going to be here in another 10, probably less than 10 years, unless the council and the union or the city and the union bargain it back in.
All right, thank you.
To
Go for it.
2032, I'm pointing at that we can use about $3 million of that $8 million to adequately fund departments across the board. Point number one. Point number two, and the chief and I and our team has been having these conversations, right? Like, systematically, we need to figure out how to untangle some of these. I'm looking at all these benefit lines, and we have well over $1 million of benefits between the Quinn bill, the buybacks, time owed, sick leave, holiday bonus, a lot of different incentives that are in here that, you know, can be redirected, but they're contractual, so there's nothing we can do about it unless somehow they're negotiated at the table. But just other things that we need to look at and figure out how to move things around, but also make sure that we're in line with the progressive direction that the chief is alluding to. Like, we don't want to go backwards. We want to have things at play that where folks are going to want to come in and stay here and not leave and experience these turnovers. How that looks like is the art that we're trying to figure out. Is you know, how do we untangle those knots? But all that to the side, all of our money, our hard-earned taxpayer money that people pay to this city, is all tied up in this aggressive plan to fully fund retirement. That's where it's not the police, it's not DPW, it's not fire. We want to point fingers at that department. It's that $8 million being caught up. That's where our priorities are right now. And until we can get rid of that, we're going to have a big funding source. We can then say, we can breathe and say, okay, what do we need, and give taxpayers some of that money back. So,
Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Thank you, Madam President. Chief, I know some of my colleagues just asked you some hard questions, or at least I would like to consider them hard questions, and obviously important questions. I just want to take the time to thank you on your approach to this budget. It really it really shows clearly your dedication to work with us and the city to balance everything out. And I just needed to make a comment about that because I really truly appreciate the work you've been doing. So thank you. That was it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that concludes I am done. We are done. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Joe. And thanks to all the department heads and counselors and for the mayor and the treasurer. I was going to say the Rory. So thanks, everyone. And we will see you soon when we vote on the budget, which may need to be a different date than our June 17th council meeting. So stay tuned, everyone. I'll be in touch.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.